So I thought maybe you're dead.
No, really? I thought I said yes, I was saved, but at a cost.
Oh, what happened?
Well, I had to go get him.
Oh, my gosh.
Mark came into my neighborhood and rescued me.
Yeah, well, it wasn't that hard, Fred. And here's the deal. He had front-wheel drive, and he was stuck in the driveway. And I came in, assessed the situation, and I said this. I said, look, this is going to be pretty easy to get you out of here, but I'm not convinced you're going to make it to the office without getting stuck again. So, Nate, is that his name?
My
The
neighbor,
next door?
Neil.
Neil, sorry about that. I like Nate better. You look like a Nate. No, Neil came over and I said, Neil, here's what we're going to do. Fred is going to be in the driver's, spot. And I said, Fred, make sure you're in reverse. Don't kill me.
Yes.
And Neil and I, we just had to rock it a little bit. The
Oh,
little
yeah,
rocket. And then Fred
Give
was
some
right
tender
out.
love.
Right. And then he got out, and I really did not want him to keep going. But I followed you out to Union,
Yeah.
and I felt you were okay. And you were okay.
It was like having an escort from behind. I really liked having you behind me.
You feel pretty special?
And it ended my 3-day, horrible
minute.
story of trying to survive.
Can I ask a question? So it was
Yeah.
just ice around your tire or the whole driveway? What's the sitch here?
Yeah,
This
in
doesn't
fact,
sound...
in fact, the car was I abandoned the car
That's
on
what
Sunday.
Yes.
At the end of our subdivision.
What?
In a
Yeah.
neighbor's driveway because I couldn't get up the hill to get back to my house.
That's the last
Oh
I
my
knew. So I
gosh.
didn't know you made it back
So-
into your driveway.
I
No,
never
he-
did.
he
No.
didn't.
Oh, you
That
were
was
in
not
the
your-
neighbor's
Yeah,
driveway.
Right.
I was,
So you're in Neil's
a
driveway.
few blocks well,
Neil's next
the one
door.
next
Who
door to
should be
him.
Nate.
Yes.
Okay.
Nate lived next door.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
that was a little confusing to
I'm
me this morning
confused.
because when I left, because I'd been to your house a couple of times,
Right.
and I was there before Christmas dropping off a little gift from Santa, and then I was confused when I left the neighborhood. I'm like, wait, I don't think that was Fred's house. But we got you out of there. But this is important because I want to kind of broaden this out here into some things. And I wasn't kidding at the beginning. There are huge stories today. The story about these two cops in Forest Park is revolting, and we're going to cover that. And Lauren Traeger's coming up here from Channel 4 in a minute. We have the new audit from Kim Gardner's office, Scott Fitzpatrick, the auditor. It is stunning and revealing what she was doing on the taxpayer
only
dime.
imagine.
And then we got Sam Page news today. We got Tish. St. Louis Business Journal did this story about essentially here. Let me break it down this way. The mayor of St. Louis spends more time traveling than she does in her office here in St. Louis. It's not even
She's
close.
not worried
So
about here.
We'll get to that and all that. But I do want to talk about MoDOT and some of the roads because, look, here's what I said on Twitter this morning. I get that this was a pretty significant storm and everything, but good Lord, we still had businesses that weren't going to open today, the libraries, all these things. Now, in defense of the businesses, I'm going to put it on MoDOT because you had a situation. I was on 55, 44, and 270 today. The main roads were okay, but Sue, when I was going back west to 141 on 44, right by Wally's and Bowles there, it was essentially down to still one lane that wasn't snow covered.
Okay. It's a thing. Mark Cox, you're Reardon, it just occurs to me, drove in this morning, and he said 6440 was down to one lane still in the county, and when you got to the city, it was all of them.
Yeah.
It was the complete, it's like opposite of what usually happens.
And I rate that statement as true. Now, a couple of things happening this afternoon. Our friend Sully from Pet Supplies Plus said, pass this along to Sue. Two real problems I witnessed. Manchester Road at Home Depot in Manchester is one lane because some idiot plow company pushed the snow in the lane up to 10 feet. I'd like to see video of that. And Woods Mill Road northbound at Clayton. Still called Woods Mill Road? That's 141, by the way.
It's
Although there is a
141,
separate
but
Woods Mill Road, too.
Yeah, I get it.
Is not plowed, screwing up that area.
Yeah, and that's between Ladue Road, and that pretty much goes all the way up to 364. So it's not a lot of fun in some areas.
And I don't get it because where it
No
really
one
creates
gets
a
it.
problem. When I get on to 44 from where I live at 141, it's a kind of a weird merge, and people are coming from, if you're heading south on 141, they built that big loopy ramp
to avoid the flood water.
Exactly. But when those people are coming into where I merge, that was all snow covered, and I thought I was going to get taken out by an 18-wheeler this morning.
It's not good.
So
Not good.
Not good. All right, this is also not good. And there are not a lot of things that just completely shock and stun me, but this is certainly one of them. And I cannot believe that it's two St. Louis County police or St. Louis City police officers that we're talking about here. Now,
No longer.
well,
right?
yeah, thank God. But the other thing, maybe I can take a little solace here. If you haven't heard this story, the second time that police responded to this particular incident, they were completely professional, and they did all.
Yeah,
But you
thank
had these two numbskulls. So Lauren is going to come up here in a couple of minutes. She happens to have the title of the official investigative reporter of the Mark Reardon Show. She's had that since Chris Nagus left, although she was a strong competitor even when Nagus was there. She does great work here in St. Louis. So here's part of the story.
Damn, he right there. Somebody right there. Swear to God. No, he ain't dead. He alive.
September 10th, 2023, still sunny in Forest Park at 6:20 p.m. A man lying on the ground, shot, but still breathing.
He should have told me. I don't know.
That's now former SLMPD officer Austin Frazier. He is not wearing a camera. It's his partner, Ty Warrens, that is rolling. Together, they make a decision.
We better take this motherfucker then. We ain't taking this in 30 minutes.
A little hard to hear.
Let's cruise around and come back.
A minute and 10 seconds on scene, changing lives forever.
So basically, they roll up on this guy who is apparently a suicide victim. They see that he's shot. They don't want to deal with doing the report. And you heard him at the end saying, hey, let's just kind of leave and come back and see what happens, right?
Third officer immediately
Wrong audio. Here we go.
Disciplinary complaint documents say Frazier and Warren arrived on scene and located the man lying under a tree, shot in the head. Neither attempted to render any assistance, neither requested medical assistance, and neither, complaint documents say, attempted to locate a firearm.
Let's cruise around and come back.
Instead, they simply leave, and Warren turns off his camera. But about 10 minutes later, they come back to Forest Park and pretend they hadn't already been there.
522 priority.
Go ahead.
Have EMS respond for one subject, not conscious but breathing, barely.
A third responding officer immediately calls in the scene,
Yeah, he's snoring.
assessing the wounds. The man's breathing so agonizing, it's like a gasping for air.
We'll have a little bit more of that later, and Lauren's going to join us. But this is, talk about deprived. My God, right? You are hired to protect and serve, and you don't want to help the dude that is essentially bleeding out and barely breathing in Forest Park. Now, this is interesting. I won't use a name here, but I did have someone who responded on Twitter, and the timeline is off here, and maybe this was somehow the same situation, but this guy says late in June 2023, I found a dead body in Forest Park in St. Louis just off a major hike bike trail. I had to witness it because St. Louis City cop I told the day before didn't follow up on my report of a dead body in Forest Park. So I don't know if that's in addition to what happened here, because Lauren's reporting said that it was, in September, I think, of last year. Now, here's one question. How do you think this got out?
That's a major question.
Well, there had to have been another cop that said, look, we're going to leak this because I don't know
this is ridiculous and these people have to go.
I mean, that's just stunning, really. You just have to wonder how often something like that might happen.
And there's just no excuse for it.
There isn't.
There isn't.
No, there's no excuse. So we'll have Lauren weigh in on that, and Jane Dueker is going to join us in the 5 o'clock hour. Here's the Kim Gardner information. Have you heard any of this, Sue?
I've heard a little.
Okay,
a little
this
bit
is
of
pretty good. So
dear.
you have Scott Fitzpatrick, who's the state auditor, who has come out now with a thorough audit and review of the circuit attorney's office. And she was attending, I mean, some of this probably shouldn't be a surprise to us. She was attending classes at SLU or completed clinical work on 40 separate occasions over the course of 2 years instead of showing up to work at the downtown courthouse.
So she was essentially, indeed, going to school to become a nurse instead of prosecuting, which was her current job.
Yeah, and she already was a nurse, but I guess she was going for some advanced degree. But let's keep in mind the timetable here, because this was all occurring at the same time that some people were calling her out. I know we did on the part-time hours. That Jeff Pegues from CBS News came in here and did this big hit piece on St. Louis talking about how racist we were, trying to hold back this prosecutor and Kim Gardner who's just trying to do the right thing. Then you had 60 Minutes come in and essentially do the same thing. Yeah. They blast, anyone that has any kind of opposition for Kim Gardner. So this was under the microscope, but while this was all happening, and even while some of this was being described in the media, Tish stood by her. I mean, Cori Bush was, of course, but everyone was so chicken, to say anything about Kim Gardner because of her race. And that's shameful in and of itself. It's even more shameful when you hear the details of this particular audit. Scott Fitzpatrick's office says in the report, completing clinical coursework during the circuit attorney working hours distracted her from performing her duties. So she's been out since May of last year. They point out in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch account of this that much of this kind of mirrored the media reports and the accusations that were filed by, Andrew Bailey last year seeking Gardner's ouster. We talked about this with Andrew extensively. He was tracking this stuff down. He had sources. People were telling him that was happening. And then you had, at the same time, this hurt St. Louis because at the same time, you have an office that is severely understaffed that had amassed thousands of unaddressed requests for charges from police, taking longer with the caseloads, dismissing cases because they didn't have people to handle them. So all of this was happening at the same time. And it's really disgusting. Scott Fitzpatrick had a news conference earlier this afternoon. We're hoping that he'll join us tomorrow to talk about some of this. But it's pretty good reading. And here's some other details here. So the Supreme Court wimped on this, as you remember. They could have taken her law license away, and I hope that the members of the Missouri Supreme Court read this audit because they also should be ashamed of themselves for not cracking down on her. Now, in the long run, would it matter because she's got her, nurse's license that she worked when she was supposed to be getting paid from the taxpayers of St. Louis? So she used $1,684 in fees to allow out-of-state attorneys to appear in a Missouri court to represent her in the Attorney General's lawsuit. They flagged $1.9 million spent on outside legal representation, software, and consultants. She went to a bar and grill. I don't know which one this was. We'll have to find out. $5,180. Let's just say this at the beginning here. There was a hell of a party going on with the circuit attorney's office and the superintendent of St. Louis Public Schools because between those two offices and the credit card spending that they were doing, they were trying to keep this economy alive.
Oh, yeah,
that's what
it was.
$5,000 and $2,500 in pizza, they say, to boost morale. It was to boost morale. So they're spending $8,000 to boost morale on pizza and drinks and stuff like that. Auditors say that the office didn't keep adequate documentation about the reason for those charges. Now, in the St. Louis Post story about this, they asked Gabe Gore. Gabe Gore seemingly is doing his job. He's also running for election. This is a little confusing to me because the story says that Gabe Gore, in a written response attached to the audit, this would be a question for Auditor Fitzpatrick, questioned the auditor's authority to conduct such a broad review of the office and argued that the circuit attorney's office wasn't subject to the state law regarding competitive bidding because the office is independent from the city. But then he says, the office says Mr. Gore has no comment regarding the various allegations. He's basically trying to do his work. He's not looking backward. He's looking forward. But the flagging the authority of the auditor is interesting to me, so I'm not sure exactly what that's all about. But that's a pretty significant story that's making the rounds today that we're going to cover a couple of different times this afternoon. And then that brings us to Tish here. I don't know how much you've seen of this, Sue.
Not much.
Well, this is the St. Louis Business Journal report, and this gets a little tricky because I always meet the paywall. Luckily, I eluded the paywall here, and I have the story. Jacob Kim actually does some pretty good work over at the Business Journal. And, this would be an example. I'll have to say we're going to welcome Lauren into the fray. What Lauren's doing here, local journalism. What Jacob Kim is doing, local journalism, pretty important here because this stuff would not be exposed. But the story in the Business Journal is that Tish was out of town on work trips at least 64 times during her first 42 months in office.
Are you serious?
A major departure from the practices of her predecessors, but a strategy, she says, is paying dividends for the city. So I noticed today, well, here's what she says. So I was noticing right when this story cleared from the St. Louis Business Journal, people are starting to share it with me. Oh, the account of the mayor of St. Louis retweets something from the middle of November in which she says this.
It's important to me that our city has a seat at the table on a national level when there are opportunities for things like federal funding. My leadership positions in the U.S. Conference of Mayors, the African American Mayors Association, Mayors Against Illegal Guns, East-West Gateway, and the National League of Cities are instrumental in bringing resources to our city.
Yes, so she's defending the junkets.
Bloomberg Philanthropies helped us implement something called LoosStat, which is helping us use data to track and improve city services with the goal of making them more efficient and more equitable.
You can't even pick up trash. You can't answer 911 calls, but you're taking junkets all over the planet. And here's something else that'll happen. I promise you this. There's no accountability. You have a report by the Business Journal. We'll talk about it here on this radio station. Jane will rip it. There'll be a lot of people concerned. Nothing will change. Nope. Nothing will change. And no member of the Board of Aldermen will criticize this at all because race is involved. It's disgusting what has happened to this city. And both of those stories in the Business Journal and that audit of Kim Gardner prove it pretty definitively here on this Tuesday afternoon.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, we continue to have issues on the roads, but it is better than it was yesterday. Stall, westbound 6440 past Research Park. Watch for that one in the two right lanes. There was an accident northbound 270 past Olive. That one has been blocking the right-hand side. And there was an accident southbound 270 at 6440 in the right lanes. Some of these ramps are still really tricky, and we had a stranded motorist southbound 170 on the on-ramp from Del Mar. And as we've been talking about, not all lanes are cleared on major interstates. 55 looks pretty good. 64, though, eastbound, well, especially approaching Lindbergh through Big Bend, it's just caused a delay this morning. And we've got some volume now westbound 70 past the airport, then it opens up. If you're headed into Illinois, we look fine. Things are fine on the Illinois side. They are better cleared than parts of the Missouri side. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Now, I have heard from people today, like our friend Gene Evans texted me and said the roads from Wentzville to Jeff City were great, and the roads in St. Louis County were worse. So
that's right.
Make of that what you will. Let's talk about New Perspective Senior Living. They're in Weldon Spring. It's a beautiful facility. They opened up about 4 months ago. They have apartments ready for you, independent living, assisted living. They have a memory care facility. They have awesome AI technology, a real-time fall detection system. And this is a brand new company in Missouri. They've been all around the country, Minnesota-based, but they built this facility in Weldon Spring, which is really, really close to Progress West Hospital. Easy access, 6440. You have 1- and 2-bedroom apartments, fully loaded with amenities, great meal plans, social activities, you name it. The best thing for you, if you're interested, you have a friend or a family member that might be interested in New Perspective Senior Living, take a tour. They'd love to have you over for lunch. You can always set that up online at npseniorliving.com. New Perspective Senior Living, a friendlier approach to senior living. They're in Weldon Spring. They're doing a great work there. npseniorliving.com.
Your voice can be key to changing lives. That's why the American Cancer Society is calling on Black women from all walks of life to join Voices of Black Women, a groundbreaking research study led by the American Cancer Society and backed by more than 70 years of trusted cancer research studies and breakthroughs. The Voices of Black Women study is designed to better understand why and how cancer and other conditions impact Black women. It's a commitment to partnering with Black women to better understand their lived experiences. Learn more at voices.cancer.org.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
The countdown to Inauguration Day is on, and 97.1 is your transition team headquarters. Every day one executive action. It's all here. Trump's second term is coming soon on 97.1 FM Talk.
You know, I saw a tweet yesterday after I got home from the show, Sue, and this was from a dude in Kansas City. I didn't know who he was. I think he might be a government official there. And he said, our Snow Angels program matches people who are unable to clear their walkways and driveways with volunteers in their neighborhood. Just finished my second of 3 houses. We need volunteers. Sign up or get on a list at kcmo.gov /Snow Angels. So my question on the X, formerly Twitter, was, and it was a serious question actually, do we have something similar here in St. Louis? And unfortunately, most of the responses that I got were snarky, understandably so, because you know what people shared with me? Somebody said, yeah, we have a program like that. The headline was, stranger helps St. Louis man get car-free from snow, then robs him at gunpoint, unfortunately. But I mentioned this yesterday, too, and when I got home last night, Sue, I'm not looking for empathy here. I'm just telling you that my driveway was still only about a quarter done, and everything was freezing. So I went at it last night and really tried to get the ice down, and I shoveled a lot more of it. But that reminded me, somebody said this on Twitter. They said, in a college town, the 73-year-old grandmother will be out at 8 a.m., pecking away at it. The 21-year-old college kid won't even attempt. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. And we've coddled these kids so much. I'm telling you. And by the way, my daughter she really would have been helping me shovel, but she got, we think it was the norovirus, so she was under the weather, so she got out of it. But kids, if you're 15 years old, get out there and shovel the damn driveways. We all did it when we were kids.
Yeah, we did.
All right.
We did.
Do we have Lauren on the line?
Yes.
She's the official investigative reporter for the Mark Reardon Show. She's proved her worth here this afternoon because this is a hell of a story. Lauren, how are you?
Again, I appreciate it.
So I played a little bit of the audio. Let me ask this question to get started here. How did you come upon this story?
So there's a database that the state maintains when they are seeking discipline against a variety of people, whether it's physicians or dentists or things like that. And we were doing just a routine review and came across this case where they are seeking to discipline the peace officer licenses of these two now former St. Louis police officers. And sort of to your reaction there, we were like, well, we've never heard of that before. This was not something that the department had talked about previously or that even family members had come to us about. And so we thought, well, this is worth some further look. And of course, then we had to put in a sunshine request, wait for those records, pay for those records, and receive them.
So when you say records, part of that was the body cam video?
Correct. We received body camera for a number of officers who responded to that scene. The first two that responded, the two that are subject to the disciplinary proceedings, only one of them was wearing a body camera. Mm-hmm. The other one was not, for a reason that the department says they can't tell me at this point. But the others also were wearing some. So as they started to further respond to it, we were able to get a really intriguing, in a way, picture of what really happened, because we don't often get just raw body camera video in investigations like this. So it was very interesting to see this sort of gamut of responses. Obviously, the two first ones the most concerning, and then the actions of the other officers that came as well.
You're a seasoned veteran. You've been around a lot of this stuff. I've been around a lot of this. This was, I can't imagine the moment that you're looking at this body cam because your jaw had to drop. You see a lot of things, but this really is shocking.
Well, and certainly the complaint documents and what the Missouri Attorney General has alleged laid out some of these. But yes, I think to see the video, you kind of wonder what a reasonable person would do in that situation. And certainly we've talked with law enforcement experts, former Chief Fitch, Tim Fitch, former county councilman as well, who said this was not what a reasonable officer, what the vast majority of police officers would do. It was very contrary to that. And obviously you do feel for the family of that person as well, who was clearly going through a very difficult time and decided to take this action. And then furthermore, I think the greater thing that we wanted to make clear is that the weapon that was used is still missing at this point in time, and there are still a lot of questions about what exactly happened to it.
But and maybe I should have done this from the beginning. Let me back up just a little bit. So is there a call that comes in about a body or somebody being shot, or do they come across this because of witnesses? How does that happen initially?
What the police believe is that the individual called and said there's going to be a person taking their own life in Forest Park. They ultimately determined that it was that person, and they did rule it a suicide because he had left notes of intent. He had sort of indicated to his roommates what he was planning to do. They had found receipts for ammunition and an open weapon box on his bed. So they did ultimately rule it a suicide, but right away, most of the responding officers say, wait a second, where is the weapon, though? If this was a suicide, it should still be here, and it is missing. And they ultimately had to file their own police report for a missing firearm, which to this day, this happened back in 2023, to this day, it has still not been recovered.
Isn't it possible, though, just kind of thinking through the scenario, that somebody else just kind of happened across that body, and they're like, okay, we're just going to take the gun?
Certainly that is what the police are theorizing from their body camera video. That's what a number of them talk about. That is what they believe may have happened. Now, again, because those first two officers who arrived, they don't seem to look for a weapon. They don't seem to even take
Right.
one. They were there for a very short time. So we don't know if maybe if they had attempted to secure a firearm, it wouldn't have been stolen in the time that happened between when they left and when everyone else showed up.
So, Lauren, do we think that there were any crimes that were committed by these officers? I think, and I have Chief Fitch on a little bit later this afternoon, so I'm going to ask this question, but I know you asked him that question. He did not think that. Is it because there might not be a statute, or that he personally didn't think that there should be charges?
Well, I definitely think that he's better at explaining that, so I would be curious to hear what he has to say, too. But I think what he was kind of saying, what other experts have said, is that there is a difficulty in proving, a negligence of action, your lack of doing something, and that he maintains that the courts have upheld, in other even mass shootings or school shootings we've seen, that when an officer fails to act, there isn't always criminal liability.
Understandably so. And then response from the chief, Chief Tracy.
Yeah, I mean, again, their statement officially is that, they can't speak to personnel matters. This, very well may still be an ongoing investigation. We know that it is with regards to the missing firearm, but they did say that they will take appropriate disciplinary actions when their standards are not met. I mean, I've heard from a number of police officers, city, county, and region-wide, who just are kind of appalled by this.
Of course they are.
Yes.
Yeah. And we should point out, I'm going to play some more of the audio here, but we should also point out that the crews that responded after the idiots that got fired were there. They were 100% professional.
Yeah.
Yeah, they certainly followed, procedure, protocol, which you would expect someone to do. They kind of treated it like, okay, let's figure out what really happened here. Let's render aid. I mean, it was very clear that he had suffered a gunshot wound to the head and was in the poor condition, but he was still alive when those officers left him. And so there's a number of officers that tried to render aid. EMS is called quickly. Again, a stark contrast to what those first two officers do, where they, within just a matter of really less than 2 minutes, decide we don't want to deal with this, so we're just going to leave.
And a legitimate question, I know that you offered this in the story too, that he could have been still alive and saved. I know that he wanted to take his own life, but he may have survived had they done something quicker. Really, really good reporting here, Lauren Trager. Awesome work. It's a very, very unfortunate story and just disappointing. So we'll continue to watch for follows. But thanks for jumping on here this afternoon.
Well, I appreciate you very much.
All right,
Thank you.
take care. I don't know what to say, because it's just one of those situations that's so baffling.
It is baffling. And it's not really so much about what is your job in this situation, although that is a factor. Good grief. This is just basic humanity.
It's human. Right,
yes.
right. I mean, I'd hate to think that anyone would roll up on a body and say, "Okay, we're just let's come back in a little bit.
Alive. Yeah,
Let's let them bleed out here."
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you do. I don't even know. That is unbelievable. So let me play a little bit more of this. For those people who might have missed the original audio, I'll play a bit of the story. This is how Lauren started it last night.
Damn, you right there. Somebody right there. Swear to God. No, he ain't dead. He alive.
September 10th, 2023, still sunny in Forest Park at 6:20 p.m. A man lying on the ground, shot, but still breathing.
He shoot himself in the head? I don't know.
That's now former SLMPD officer Austin Frazier. He is not wearing a camera. It's his partner, Ty Warrens, that is rolling. Together, they make a decision.
We better take this motherfucker down. We ain't taking this in 30 minutes. Let's cruise around and come back.
Yeah, let's cruise around and come back. So here's where the other response happens.
That third officer immediately notices something isn't right.
You got a gun?
Can't see one.
As others arrive, they know to secure the perimeter.
Hey, start it way up there and do the whole thing.
Throughout several officers' body camera videos, you see them putting up yellow crime scene tape.
Priority with privacy curtains. We're in a very exposed area of Forest Park.
Calling to block the victim from view in the busy park and keep others away.
Got a pulse still?
They follow protocol
You got a pulse.
and attempt to help,
Super weak, but I feel it.
even when they know it's bad.
There's not much we can do.
Yeah, that officer is actually showing emotion because he's witnessing, somebody died basically right in front of him.
On video this time, Warren and Frazier walk away again, leaving their fellow officers to handle it now.
You know, it's up. Warren and Frazier just left.
Why?
I don't know.
Nearly every officer acknowledges the obvious. How is it a suicide with no gun?
ETU is here, so he probably already has the gun.
Nope, no gun. Gun's gone.
What do you mean gun's gone?
The gun is gone. So he could have shot himself, somebody came over and took his shit.
I mean,
Wouldn't shock me. Maybe somebody dumped him. You never know. I mean,
Yeah, I think that's what happened. I mean, I don't know what the motivation would have been to take the gun if you're the first two officers, Warren and Frazier, but that's interesting where the other cop's like, hey, these two dudes just took off. What the hell's up with that, right?
Wow.
So I think it's really, really sad. We want to support police.
Yes.
And look, you're going to have bad apples. This is a bad apple situation.
It is.
And I don't know what else will come of this. This is a fascinating story, but we got a lot to cover here this afternoon. And one of the big stories out west, I don't know if you've heard about this. You know they have 100-mile-per-hour winds in California, Los Angeles?
Good grief.
Brian Ping from KNX is going to update it. It's a pretty serious situation. Maybe power grids going down. We'll update you coming up next.
Still some issues out there on the roads this afternoon. There was an incident westbound 70 near Air Flight, and the right lane is blocked. Looks like a tow truck is on the scene. Hopefully that will improve. Stall reported southbound 170 on the on-ramp from Del Mar. You really have to be careful on some of these ramps that are still snow-covered. We've had problems with snow-covered lanes on 270, especially between Page and it looks like Manchester. And westbound 64, a little bit slow as you approach 170, and that goes out through 270, mainly because of the snow as well. Now, we've got westbound 6440. There was an incident or a stall past Research Park. Watch for that in the right lane. And we had earlier accidents southbound 270 at 64 in the right lane and northbound past Olive on the right side. Just take care out there this afternoon. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, I am so excited to talk about Underdog Sports. You have no idea because I'm going to mess around with this. I've been sending money to Las Vegas for years for my sports wagering. No longer. Okay, a couple things. You want to first download Underdog Sports. It's a great app, and Underdog is going to allow you to really make some fun choices. It's really the best place to cash in on all your takes during the upcoming playoffs. I'll give you an example. You can go on there right now. I'm on the app, and I'm a big Packers fan, right? You can pick, for example, different things that may happen in that game. Let's say Saquon Barkley higher than 100 rushing yards. I think that might happen just because he's a stud. Josh Jacobs. Let's go higher on him as well. And you can put bets together that way, and you can win some money. So the best thing you can do right now is download the app. You can use my name in a very efficient way as well. If you download the app, you sign up, you put your username and your password in there. Use the promo code MARKR, M-A-R-K-R, not the way that Mark Cox spells it, Mark R. And you can get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly with the promo code MARKR. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates, which is now Missouri. Thankfully, terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. Check out Underdog Sports. Download it today. Use that promo code MARKR.
If better health, more energy, and detoxing your body are some of your priorities this year, get Active Liver today and start the year off knowing you're giving your liver some well-deserved relief. You can find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Wednesday, we're live at the state capitol. We'll talk to incoming Governor Mike Kehoe at 7:20.
The Mark Cox Morning Show, weekdays from 5 to 9, right here on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, we still have a lot to get to here this afternoon, including a Tuesday edition of Sue's News after the top of the hour. And then, I mentioned this story about the mayor and her travel. We will compare and contrast past administrations. Jeff Rainford, who is a regular on the roundtable, of course, former chief of staff for Mayor Slay, which kind of goes back a little while now, before Lyda Crewson was even mayor. I'll remember the Lyda Crewson administration. But he'll have some hot takes on the Business Journal report. Tim Fitch, the former St. Louis County Police Chief, former St. Louis County Councilman, reaction to Lauren's story at 5:07. Jane's going to join us in the 5 o'clock hour. She's got some reactions to some of these stories as well. And right now, though, we're going to kind of find out what's going on. I saw this story in the LA Times. I go to the LA Times every day. It's one of the many publications that I subscribe to. I rather like the LA Times, despite the the legacy bias. I just kind of accept that. But this is a big story, Sue, and I don't think it's gotten any traction nationally, and hopefully it'll turn out all right. They have 100-mile-per-hour winds possible with this crazy weather out there. And our friend Brian Ping from KNX in Los Angeles is with us this afternoon. He is a St. Louis native. Were you home for the holidays?
I was.
Awesome.
I was there a few days ago and got back just ahead of the ice storm. So, yeah.
Oh, good work there. Well, yeah, I think that we were going to try to connect, and it was just a busy time. One of these times we're going to have to do that, get you down here at the studio and have a little fun and play some radio. We'll have to have Brian in to play The Price is Wrong.
There
so we
you
do a little
go.
game called The Price is Wrong with George Gray from The Price is Right, and I think you'd be exceptional at that. But tell me about the weather out there. What the hell's going on?
Well, you said that it had no national traction. I think it's about to, because it's getting really serious now. We got a big fire that has erupted in Pacific Palisades. Now, if you're not familiar with the LA area, that is a mountainous coastal part of the city of LA. It's between Malibu and Santa Monica, and a lot of very wealthy homes are there, and they look to be right in the bullseye. They butt up against these mountains that are full of tinder dry brush. It has not rained here since last May.
Oh, wow.
So just to give you an idea of how dry everything is, so when we get an event like this with these winds that are coming out of the north and northeast from the desert, that's a recipe for disaster, and we're starting to see just the beginning of this.
Brian, one of the things that I think would be a major concern is the power grid, right?
Yeah, because a lot of the lines are overhead. In many other places, I know a lot of places in the Midwest, they bury the power lines, and this is a major issue out here in California with the utility companies. They're trying to make investments to bury power lines, but no, a lot of them are still overhead, so they're liable to come down in these kinds of events, and that could spark a fire too. It could be nobody does anything, nobody lights a match or is lazy with open flame, but it's just one of those things that we can't control because those lines are there. These are active lines.
Now, you guys are, we've heard about the Santa Ana winds for forever, right? But this is a little different, isn't it?
Yeah, they're saying this is a potentially historic event in terms of just the wind speed and the wind gusts, because Santa Anas are fairly common here, especially this time of year. Whenever high pressure gets parked to the east of us, that pushes the desert air our way. We typically get the sea breeze from the west, but when that reverses, it's very dry and it can really set us up for, in drought conditions as we are right now, for high fire danger. We have what are called the red flag warnings whenever this happens. I'm afraid this is going to be just the first of perhaps a series of events like this.
So if I remember correctly, and I often don't remember correctly, but you guys were in a drought situation for the longest time. But then last spring, there was a lot of rain, right? And like a ton of rain, if I remember correctly. But you're saying since that time, there's been no rain, even significant rain?
Yeah, we're coming off of 2 consecutive wet years, so to speak, where we got more than average. And that was, excellent. It was great for my garden. It was great for gardens everywhere and for our water supply all up and down California. But that really came to an end this year because of certain weather phenomena, just a high-pressure ridge that wouldn't budge. Northern California has gotten a lot of rain so far this season, but we've gotten nothing because there's just that boundary line that we've been stuck behind.
I've been in situations, Sue, I'm sure you have too, we all have, but I think of 55 in Illinois in particular where it's flat, where I've been in wind conditions where you got to just grip that steering wheel
buffeted.
because, you think you're going to get blown off the road. But that's probably 35 to 45 mile per hour gusts. What's the situation on the highways out there with winds like that, Brian?
Yeah, especially when you're talking about the mountain passes, because these winds will come from the desert, and then there's mountains that separate us from the desert. And so the passes and canyons the wind funnels through there. So you got the major highways like Interstate 5, Interstate 15, that deal with a lot of truck traffic. And so those high-profile vehicles with winds almost hurricane force that are coming down with this storm, 50 to 60 mile an hour winds are definitely not uncommon. So yeah, that could cause for a bumpy ride. I got to tell you, Mark, I'm home right now in Long Beach. I'm looking outside. There's nothing. There's no wind at all because where I am, we're blocked from the wind by the mountains. It all depends on the direction the wind is going. If I were to go maybe 10 miles one direction or another, there's probably tree branches falling because it's all about where you're positioned, below those access points of the mountains where that wind can come through.
Brian Ping, stay safe out there. Keep us posted. This is supposed to occur through Thursday?
Yeah, the red flag conditions through Thursday, they're saying the worst of these winds is yet to come, and that's bad news again for those folks in Pacific Palisades, and you never know when something else might pop up. It very well might.
Oh, my. All right, well, you got all kinds of activity out there. You got your mudslides, your earthquakes, and now you got the crazy winds. Brian Ping, awesome to hook up with you. Great to hear from you, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks again, Mark.
All right, take care. So they have something called mountain wave winds, and the way that they're described, this is something that can cause short-lived but extremely destructive winds, particularly in the foothills of the San Gabriel Mountains in the valleys there. So they say that the mountain wave wind activity occurs when gusts rapidly drop down mountain slopes, and then they gain strength upon hitting the flat landscape, and it's described as brief bursts of very strong, dangerous winds, according to the National Weather Service meteorologist Rich Thompson. I'm sure Dave Murray would have a lot to say about this as well. But they think that this is or could be potentially the strongest wind event in that area since something that happened in Pasadena in 2012 that caused a lot of damage. And that knocked out power for 4 days or so for 400,000 people. So I think the main concern is the power grid. Think about that, right? You might
can you imagine?
That would be awful. All right, we're going to have get caught up here at the top of the hour. We got Sue's News, and we're going to talk about a bunch of other stories, including some of the stories that are broken around here. But I do want to get to President Trump because a lot of people made this observation this morning on the X, formerly Twitter, and it's true. Did you hear what Trump did this morning? He did something that Joe Biden hasn't done in 4 years. He sat there and he talked to the media without a prompter, like a real person, for 90 minutes this morning.
The press must have been in shock.
Well, I think they probably were. They actually were on their best behavior, I think, for the most part, asking some questions. Now, this whole, I don't even know. Sometimes I don't know whether to think this is serious or not serious because we're at the point right now where we are annexing not only Greenland, but most of Canada, and we're renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. I think some of those things are actually true, but I'm not sure which ones are. But here's what Trump said today.
You said you were considering military force to acquire Panama and Greenland. Are you also considering military force to annex and acquire Canada?
No, economic force. Because Canada and the United States, that would really be something. You get rid of that artificially drawn line, and you take a look at what that looks like, and it would also be much better for national security.
So that's one of the topics that came up. He talked about the border. He talked about Biden blocking a lot of things. Apparently they're making, go figure, the situation very difficult for the transition. Grocery prices. So they tried to get him on this because, clearly you don't have a magic wand.
You vowed to bring down the prices at grocery stores very fast.
Yeah, we won't do it
But then you recently told Time Magazine that bringing down prices would be very hard. So what can the American people expect when you get into office?
It's always hard to bring down prices when somebody else has screwed something up like they did.
Yeah,
but we'll
exactly.
bring them down. We'll get them down. Energy's going to bring down prices. We're going to have a lot of energy, and energy's what brought it up. Energy and their bad spending is what brought it up, and energy's going to bring it down. We're going to have prices down. I think you're going to see some pretty drastic price reductions.
I don't know what's going to happen there, but here's what I do know. On January 21st, they're going to ask the question in the legacy media, why aren't the prices lower at this point, right? They'll give them basically 24 hours. Now, I mentioned, have you heard about the Gulf of Mexico name change?
I think that's funny.
I think he might be serious about this.
We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name.
That is a beautiful name.
It is, I like it.
On the topic, because then Greenland, Don Jr. is in Greenland right now. Here's a guy in Greenland that says, hey, yeah, we need to sell to you.
Like, if you could tell Trump anything, what would it be?
Buy us.
Buy Greenland? buy Greenland.
Why do you want Trump to buy Greenland?
Because we don't want to be colonized by Danish government anymore. We get ripped every year about our minerals from Greenland. We are the richest nation in the world, and we don't get to use it. Denmark's using us too much.
Ooh. Do you like America?
I love America, but people are too fat over there.
People are too what?
I didn't hear that. What was that last part there? Wait, let's see. The people are too...
It's too much.
Do you like America?
I love America, but people are too fat over there.
Did he say too fun over there?
I don't know.
But so on the topic of Greenland, and then, he wants to take the Panama Canal back too. That came up.
Can you assure the world that as you try to get control of these areas, you are not going to use military or economic coercion?
I can't assure you on either of those two, but I can say this. We need them for economic security. The Panama Canal was built for our military. It might be that you'll have to do something. Look, the Panama Canal is vital to our country.
So, if you heard the comment there, he was asked the question, can you rule out military action? He said, no, I can't rule out economic or military action. That's getting a fair amount of attention this afternoon. But that was a wide-ranging news conference. I thought that the media actually treated him relatively fairly.
I have a theory about that, too. Part of it is I think that they are reading the tea leaves a little bit and realize, in other words, had Trump lost the popular vote, I don't think they'd be as nice. But I think they're starting to realize that this may be what America thinks, and maybe they should just try to be decent, at least for a minute.
No, I think that there might be something to that. I said this even before Christmas. There's a different tone in Washington, and even a different tone from Donald J. Trump. I think we're realizing that as well. Sue's News coming up after 4 o'clock. Hang in there.
I'll tell you what, we still have some issues on the roads. One of these areas happens to be westbound 70. If you're taking that out past the airport, we've got to slow down. And it's really near Air Flight where there was an accident and they've got the right lane blocked. And we've got slow-moving traffic back through the inner belt. There was a stall reported southbound 170 on the on-ramp from Del Mar. It looks like the exit was closed. This is what MoDOT is reporting. Westbound 6440 to Clayton Warson and westbound 270 to Halls Ferry. And watch for emergency vehicles now northbound 270 a little bit north of Olive. We still have some snow on the roadways, on major roadways, so just take it easy. And of course, the side streets are still a bit tricky. If you are headed into Illinois at this time, we look okay on the bridges downtown. No real issues there. This report brought to you by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
My best friend Jenny came over for coffee, said it's cold enough in here to play hockey. Well, my furnace broken, it's already late. Call Jerry Kelly because they're open till 8, jerrykelly.com. They're fast and they're good and they got it going on. Jerry Kelly.
I'm getting older. Do I need to worry about falling?
Yes, you do. Every year, 1 in 4 people 65 and older will experience a fall, and many result in serious injury. The majority of falls happen at home, so take a look around. Replace bulbs and add lighting to help you see obstacles. Remove things that can make you trip. Fix uneven steps and floors. and install handrails in bathrooms and on stairs. Consider balance or strength training exercises, which can help with agility. Get your eyes and hearing checked regularly. Changes in your hearing can affect your balance. To learn more, please talk to your doctor about steps you can take to help prevent a fall. You can also visit aarpfoundation.org or medicaremadeclear.com/falls. This message was brought to you by United Healthcare and AARP Foundation.
At Smile Train, we understand that most children with clefts need a little extra care to help them grow healthy and strong. Visit smiletrain.org to learn how Smile Train is supporting the cleft community with lifelong smiles.
Well, quite the report in the St. Louis Business Journal about the trips that our mayor, Tashara Jones, has taken. Suffice it to say, she spends more time elsewhere than in the city of St. Louis. We'll have a reaction from Jeff Rainford at 4:20.
Jimmy Carter at the Capitol. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. There's a service happening now for President Jimmy Carter before he lies in state at the Capitol Rotunda for people to come pay their respects until a funeral at Washington National Cathedral Thursday morning. Seth Jacobson worked in the Carter White House and with him later on his humanitarian projects.
All of us who worked in the presidency and White House or in agencies all sort of took pleasure in working with them post-presidency because of his dedication.
He was on America Reports on Fox today. Jimmy Carter will be buried in a family plot next to his wife, Rosalind, at a national park named for him in Plains, Georgia. Speaking to reporters in Florida, President-elect Trump won't say he would not rule out using military or economic force to take control of the Panama Canal and make Greenland part of the United States. It's a territory of Denmark now.
People really don't even know if Denmark has any legal right to it. But if they do, they should give it up because we need it for national security. That's for the free world. I'm talking about protecting the free world.
The entire federal judge for now is blocking the release of final special counsel investigation reports on President-elect Trump, and a court in New York says his sentencing on criminal hush money charges may go ahead Friday. The Biden administration is asking a federal appeals court to block a plea agreement for 9/11 attack mastermind Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and two co-defendants that would spare him the death penalty. President Biden's trip to Southern California to announce the creation of 2 new national monuments today is canceled, the White House says, because of a big windstorm there. There are brush fires breaking out.
Southern California is under a red flag warning. Cal Fire revealing with strong Santa Ana winds and low humidity, any spark could lead to a fast, uncontrollable wildfire spread. The National Weather Service says parts of Los Angeles and Ventura counties could see wind gusts of 50 to 80 miles per hour, with isolated gusts up to 80 to 100 miles per hour in the mountains and foothills.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin in L.A. America's listening to Fox News.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline nasal spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies. including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens. And it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to goodrx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Partly cloudy skies for evening plans, and it's time to bundle up as temperatures drop out of the 20s into the upper teens, and 6 will do it for the low. On Wednesday, sunny and cold, 22. Wednesday night, clear and very cold, down to 3. Coldest of this Arctic high pressure will be Wednesday night. Thursday, sunny and 32. Little bit of light snow late Thursday night and into Friday. It looks fairly limited. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
I'm Chad Robison with Your Money Now. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau today is saying they finalized a rule to remove roughly $49 billion in medical debt from credit reports. That change is expected to affect an estimated 15 million Americans. With the rule now, consumer reporting agencies will be banned from including medical debt information with credit reports and scores that are sent to lenders. Meanwhile, job openings in the U.S. rose to a 6-month high of 8.1 million in November. The numbers were aided somewhat by a rebound in employment after 2 major hurricanes and the start of the holiday shopping season. The number of job quitters dropped to 3.1 million in November. Stocks were lower today on Wall Street, with the Dow dropping 178 points, the S&P 500 off by 66, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq lost nearly 1.9%. U.S. crude oil futures for February above 74 a barrel. That's Your Money Now.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.
I got a call from the Netherlands this morning when I was sitting on my couch. I'm going to explain that here in a second because it could be a cautionary tale. And that's coming up here before Sue's News in just a minute. The Retirement Advisor Group is there for you even outside of the awesome, seminars that we do with Thomas Helbig and the team 5 times a year. I will very shortly be describing another one of those, inviting you to another one of those seminars. We get kicked off here in February. But look, you have retirement just around the corner perhaps. You're worried about inflation. You don't know if you have enough money to retire. It's a different situation certainly than 4 years ago. I think we know why. So get into the office for a free retirement review. There's no obligation. And as I've said many times, and Thomas and the team would agree with this, maybe you have a vibe with them. Maybe you feel a connection. Maybe you don't. And that's fine, too. You can walk in the other direction, no obligation. But if you come in, learn a little bit about what they do. They have a different strategy than the big brokerage firms. The secret is safely linking to the market. How has no client of Thomas's lost a penny of their money for 40 years, almost 40 years? Let them prove it to you at the Retirement Advisor Group. Go to retirementkey.com today. That's retirementkey.com.
Greg Hammonds at greghammonds.com wants to remind you that if you pay for your own health insurance, open enrollment ends January 15th. If you are looking for coverage, do not go online looking for quotes. You'll get endless calls from call centers, and they will not stop. Instead, call Greg, an expert with over 40 years experience, and he can provide sound advice for your health insurance needs. Their plans, if you qualify, let you pick your doctors, and it's 30 to 60% lower cost than Obamacare. The monthly premiums are independent of your income, so there will be no surprise tax bills. If you pay for your own health insurance, own a small business, you're uninsured, you're on COBRA, or your employer coverage is just too expensive, call Greg at 314-794-7784. That's 314-794-7784. Or go to greghammonds.com. That's greghammonds.com. They will custom design a plan managed by you, not the government.
A 2024 survey by Navitas Health Solutions reported that 48% of Americans have been unable to fill a needed prescription at least once due to the cost. RX Outreach, an online nonprofit mail-order pharmacy based in St. Louis, is committed to providing safe and affordable medications for everyone. They offer over 950 medicines for chronic illnesses and conditions and ship to all 50 states, regardless of insurance, without membership fees or copays. Contact RX Outreach at 314-222-0472 or visit rxoutreach.org.
All right, welcome back. Second hour here on a Tuesday afternoon with a little Marshall Crenshaw. So this whole Greenland thing is very interesting. You have Donald Trump Jr. there declaring he's really excited to be in Greenland while speaking to reporters saying, and his dad called. Did you see that? Trump actually called when Don Jr. was there with all these people from Greenland. I guess they're kind of serious about this. So you were asking the question, like, who owns Greenland? I guess it is a Denmark?
Who governs it?
Yeah, they govern it, but they have all these natural resources, coal, copper, iron ore, diamonds, all this stuff, and only a part of the island has been explored because, well, two things. You got ice and glaciers, that's a big part of it, but also the environmental policies of Denmark. So they say that it's home to fewer than 60,000 people. It stretches back to centuries. I don't know. This is fascinating. I don't know.
It really is.
What there is to it, but it seems like he's making some moves. Now, on the topic of Canada, because we're just acquiring the whole world. We got Greenland, we got Canada, we got the Panama Canal, the Gulf of America. We are definitely spreading our colonialism here in the world. But the Canadians aren't too happy about all this talk about, accessing.
He's kidding, right?
Well, I don't know,
The president, I'll make him a counteroffer. How about if we buy Alaska and we'll throw in Minnesota and Minneapolis at the same time?
Hey, Donald. Have we got a deal for you? You think we want to be the 51st state? Nah, but maybe California would like to be the 11th province. How about it? California? Oregon? Washington?
Yeah, so I'm willing to cut a deal here this afternoon. I'll give you California, Oregon, Washington. I'll even throw in Vermont and maybe Minnesota. And we'll take the rest of I don't know if we want Ontario, but look, we can cut a deal. It's the art of the deal. Trump's going to cut a deal. I'll be happy to give you California as long as Gavin Newsom comes with that territory. They're going to fall into the ocean anyway. What's the big deal? Nevada will be beachfront property in just a few years. That's according to the climate alarmists. But that's fascinating, isn't it?
It's funny.
So I really did. I said this before the top of the hour. I got a call this morning, and I would typically never answer these calls. If I get a call that I don't know, I kick it to voicemail. And I get a lot of 636 numbers that are they clearly are just, scams. They don't even leave messages. But today, I had an international number that came up, and I thought, well, this is fascinating. And quickly through my brain, I'm like, do I know anybody that might be calling me? Let's answer anyway. And it was a recording from Amazon. It wasn't really Amazon, but this is another one of those scams. From an international, because these people are probably in Russia.
Well, yeah.
Right? The international message said, we are calling to alert you to an Amazon, purchase on your account of $1,400.
Oh, yeah.
Press 1, blah, blah, blah. I tried to get it on the audio
to
recording,
record it, yeah.
But then it kind of cut off before I can even do anything with it. But that's a word of caution because this USPS, the one with the Postal Service, people are getting that text all the time saying, hey, we have a piece of mail for you. Don't even click on it because when you click on it, they're going to want to enter your address and then they're going to ask for more information. So there's all these scams out there. They're very sophisticated. So just be careful out there. Sue's News is coming up. After that, we're going to talk about, speaking of a scam, the mayor of St. Louis traveling worldwide, all to bring money back here to St. Louis. Hey, don't we have like $300 million that's sitting in a bank account that we're not spending right now?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Sue, for confirming that.
And not enough police.
Rainford will weigh in on that coming up, and we have Jane in the next hour as well. And both of those, I think they're both going to be on the roundtable, Fred?
Yeah.
Both this Friday.
Right.
Along with Steve Butts.
Right.
Actually, no, Rainford won't be on.
No, actually, it's not Rainford.
But Tim Fitch will be on.
Fitch.
That's where I was
and
confused. Chief Fitch will be here next hour to talk about the Lauren Trager story. And if you missed that, we'll get you caught up, and you can go back with the Rewind app and go back to about 3:25 and listen to Lauren this afternoon. Let's do this.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Well, On this day, nice to have you back, Fred, by the
thank
way.
you, Sue. Thank
It's
you.
nice you could get out of your neighborhood. On this day in history, 112 years ago, in 1913, William M. Burton received a patent for his method of manufacturing, quote, the magic moving potion. We now call it gasoline.
Wow.
He got the patent for that 112 years ago today, and Standard Oil bought that method, whatever it was, and they have the patent and took it from.
The
Isn't that cool?
magic motion.
Magic moving potion.
That's interesting.
I mean,
though.
think about how bizarre that'd be to go from horses to a machine that could do it. I mean, that had to be
with this
mind-boggling.
Weird liquid that
Right?
smells funny and lights on
Yes.
fire. Yeah, it is fascinating.
It is. And it's National Bobblehead Day. Fred, do you have bobbleheads? You're
Oh,
a
yeah,
collector.
I do. I'm
We
not
do.
an avid collector, but I am a collector.
I have no use for a bobblehead. What about you? Except for my Kenny Wallace one, which I love.
I love
right.
my Kenny Wallace one too, but in my version of Kenny's bobblehead, he only has one arm because I broke the other one off.
that's
I'm
true.
not a bobblehead guy. I give them away. It's just
Yeah.
not my thing.
Well, for us, it's National Tempura Day, so we can have that shrimp dipped in then tempura batter and fried.
It's more my style. There you go.
Delicious. All right, Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul, and Mary passed away. Mark sent me this today, and then I did see it. He was 86. He co-wrote this song. It's Puff the Magic Dragon.
Just remember this one was a kid, right? And then you started learning maybe what it was
Yeah,
about.
maybe
Like,
it's
oh, that's a
not so
cute
great.
little,
Maybe-
kid song, right?
Yeah.
Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea.
I have full understanding and appreciation that Peter, Paul, and Mary played a very important role in folk music and this style of music. Doesn't do much for me, but he was an influence. There's no doubt about it.
Yep, and that group was active in 1961. I did find this interesting. Peter, Paul, and Mary recorded Dylan's "Blowin' in the Wind" and took it to number 2 on the charts when he was barely known.
Oh yeah,
and
it's fascinating too, isn't
so
it? Right.
they did pretty well with that. Well, there's a new streaming service that may happen, of course. North America's second largest TV streaming service may be the combination of Hulu Plus, Live TV, and Fubo TV. Disney is thinking about combining them, and this new service will be second only to YouTube television in size. YouTube TV has about 8 million subscribers. This, if you put them together now, would have about 6 million. But it's in the courts. We'll see what happens.
Well, it makes sense to me, and I recounted for a while. I had both services mainly because of Bally Sports. I canceled Fubo because I like YouTube TV better.
Yeah.
But what kept me I can't watch Blues games right now because I don't have whatever that's called. It's not even Bally's, right? It's
I
FanDuel or
have
something
to
like that.
assume that at some point this will be a buffet, and we could take this and this and this and put it together. But I don't know how that happens
For
yet.
baseball, I think that definitely you're going to have. This is one of the reasons I made the decision on Fubo because I want to definitely watch the Card. Well, maybe I don't. Do we want to watch the Cardinals in the spring? Let's say I want to watch the Cardinals.
You do. Fred, did
Maybe
you
I-
just say no?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was
okay.
say no, you do.
Yeah. no.
Okay.
Oh, you do?
No, I
Because
would.
of the other teams playing them, or because of the Cardinals?
No, because that's what you
No,
two
because
do
you
in
never,
the
you
summer.
never know what's going to
Of
happen.
course,
Yes.
I am a baseball fan. I will watch the Cardinals even if they suck, and Fred knows that. And that's why I was just a joke. But my point at that is that I do think that they're going to have your a la carte option for that. Coming up.
Maybe eventually.
Seems that way.
The
No, I
seven-
mean soon, like this
like
season.
really soon?
Yeah.
70% of this new Fubo would be owned by Disney. I don't know if that's an appeal or not, but that's how it would be.
But you wouldn't have thinking through this if you're already at Disney Plus and you have ESPN Plus and Hulu in the package. They're not going to just add this
no.
gratis, right?
Oh,
They're
no.
gonna charge you for
I'm
another
sure.
service.
That's how they get you. Fred, that's how they get you.
Oh, I'm looking.
Okay, but let's say they package something and it's more appealing than YouTube TV, which is what they're going to do because they're going to go after those numbers.
That's exactly
That's
what they
called
want.
competition. I like that.
You guys are not going to believe some of this stuff from CES. Okay, Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas started today, and it's always got a ton of amazing products and a couple of weird ones, maybe more than one weird one. Here are the strangest gadgets we have found so far. A robot vacuum that picks up dirty socks. Huh?
Well, you may laugh at that, but I had to pick up a couple of those this morning from a little 10-year-old. I might want that piece of technology.
It's like a Roomba, Mark, but with an arm on top that picks up the stuff you tossed on the floor.
We have a lot of need for that in our household, so I like that.
It's a company called Roborock. It's a prototype, no word on the pricing, but maybe north of $1,000. It can pick up small items that weigh less than 11 ounces. I don't think it's that perfected yet. You may want to wait.
I'll hold off on that one.
Boy, that would ruin my workout routine. 'Cause that's pretty much all I do is bend down and pick up
stuff.
Yeah.
Number 2, how about electric rollerblades? This to me just sounds like a complete insurance nightmare.
Brain injury waiting to happen.
Okay, you wear a battery around your waist like a belt to control the speed, like with a remote. Top speed, 18 miles per hour.
That's pretty fast.
It's what could go wrong? It's only $800. I just think that's crazy.
You know, it's been a while since I've been on the bicycle. As you know, I'm lazy and don't do that anymore. But I used to. And one of my favorite things, man, I'll tell you, did you ever do that, the rollerblading thing?
No,
like,
I cannot.
did. Becky makes fun of me all the time because I actually owned rollerblades and I tried. I wasn't very good at it. But when you're on the Grants Trail, okay, like the rollerbladers, they're a different breed.
A totally different breed.
I'm sorry, but...
yes.
So one time I got yelled at from a rollerblader because I actually, tried to alert her that I was coming up on her left.
You scared her?
I guess. But
how are you going to know?
They don't take one lane, right? They take two lanes.
They take it all.
Yeah, they do.
They take it all. But,
yeah.
but
they
frankly,
can go faster now.
Yeah, that's true. They could just hit the button and go past us and we'll all be done. I love this. An electric salt spoon. It's been in the works for a while. It went on sale in Japan last year. There's a really weak current of electricity that hits your tongue and makes stuff taste saltier than it really is.
Wow,
now, I don't
without the salt.
Yes. Now, I don't
That's
want this,
interesting.
but it's very interesting. They're $125 in Japan. You can't get them in the U.S. yet. But it just goes a little bit, and everything tastes saltier. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That is.
All right. They also have...
the crowd wasn't so sure
crowd.
about that, though.
I'm so into this now. A table with working legs. They call it the Mimo, which you could tell what country these all come from. And it walks around. The prototype looks like a small table with a Pixar lamp on top. Its idea is it's an AI robot you can talk to, but it looks like the furniture? I don't know, so that people don't think that you're just talking to yourself. I guess it's a disguise, so you don't have to say Alexa constantly. Sorry to everybody, I just set that off.
Yeah, you did.
And, okay, this one is too great to believe. A tiny robot that blows on your drink to cool it down.
Glad you said on your drink, first of all.
Of course I did. It's called the Fufu. It looks like a cat and hangs on the side of your coffee mug. It also works on soup. They go on sale in Japan later this year for $25. You just hang it on there and it goes and cools it off.
Doesn't ice do that?
You don't put ice in soup.
That would
water it
Yeah,
down.
you do. You put a little ice in soup.
No, it'll water it down.
No,
I
really?
do.
Yeah,
Ice in
Mark.
soup.
But just like a cube or two. Are you kidding me?
No, that'll water it down. Tell him, Fred.
Oh, yeah, that would water it down.
Thank
Well, it
you.
might, but it's not going to burn my mouth that way. So I take that as a victory.
I consider blowing on my soup and a drink another form of workout. So that would
Fred,
eliminate
you're
that.
burning
We
some
might
calories.
have to have
Yeah,
some
that's
talk
right.
about what exercise is. Lady Gaga just became the third artist, we can play this music, to have multiple #1 hits in 3 different decades on Billboard Hot 100. Janet and Michael Jackson are the other two. It's this song with Bruno Mars that she did, Die With a Smile.
I just woke up from a dream.
And I don't know. This is a brand new song?
Yep.
Okay.
Had to say goodbye.
I do love me some Bruno Mars and Gaga.
What it all means.
He's someone that's on my bucket list to see in concert because I've never seen Bruno.
Boy, talk about high energy.
Yeah.
This kind
That's
of
where I find.
So that's #1 right now is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It's her 6th time reaching #1. By the way, in the video, they're dressed as like old country stars, and she's got like this huge old, Tammy Wynette hair. I think you might like it.
I'm kind of digging it now that I'm hearing it in the
Yeah.
background here. Wait, hang on. All right, I'm putting it in my title queue right now. That's my music service. I like it.
This,
good
by the
stuff.
way, Gaga, it's Janet, Michael Jackson are the other two who've had #1 hits in 3 different decades. Paul McCartney and Diana Ross did it, but it's a mix of careers there and groups, Beatles and the Supremes. So really there are only 3 in. So congrats to Gaga for getting that done. Fred, you look suspicious. Are you suspicious?
You'd think there'd be more.
I would
In 3
I would
different
have thought there'd
Yeah,
been more
well,
too.
3 different decades. That's a tough thing. to pull off. And finally, in Sue's news, we have today's random fact. Oh, it is random. The first script for E.T., the movie, was actually a horror movie. And then Steven Spielberg decided he liked it better as a family movie, and the horror script was rewritten to become Poltergeist. A little bit softer. Wow. And that's it for Sue's news.
See, that makes my brain hurt just a little bit. That's very interesting. I love it. That's what the random fact is intended to do. Thank you, Sue. We got Chief Fitch coming up here to respond to, I'm sorry, wrong guest, Jeff Rainford to respond. There's so much to respond to today on this Business Journal report talking about the travel of our mayor, Tashara Jones. She travels a lot. She's got a lot of frequent flyer mileage.
Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast at 971talk.com.
We've got an accident reported westbound 44 at Elm. Watch for this in the 3 right lanes, even the right shoulder. And there was an accident, MoDOT reporting this one, northbound 55 past 61. That one, though, is on the shoulder. And we had another one on the shoulder, southbound 270 right there at the Rock Road. It's on the right shoulder. Accident westbound 44 at Elm, the one they've been working on, is really causing a delay. So if you are westbound on 44, expect a delay. 55 southbound looks pretty good out of downtown. Southbound 270, also some slow-moving traffic. Mainly moderate right at Manchester. 70 westbound, they cleared that accident at Air Flight. They had the right lane blocked for a while. So if you're headed out of downtown, it looks fine. And other than that, we're pretty good. If the Illinois side looks great, and if you're headed in on any of the bridges downtown, we are also in good shape. Yeah, looking really good headed toward the Illinois side. This report brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, Lakeside Renovation and Design has been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. From windows and siding to kitchens, bathrooms, and outdoor spaces, they deliver quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, there are always great deals from my friends at Zero Res Monthly. We highlight those. Sometimes you can save a little more on the air duct cleaning package. Sometimes you can save a little more on the carpet cleaning. Sometimes, like the month of January 2025, you can save on everything. 24% off all services. We're taking a look back to 24 and getting rid of all that nasty gunk. So it's 24% off all services with the mention of my name or 97.1 FM Talker. You can use the code New Year as well when you book your appointment online at ZeroResSTL.com or by calling 314-474-2020. They really are the best. They're professionals. I've used them. I think it's going on about 10, 11 years right now in multiple houses. They have awesome techs, great customer service, and the technology that they use is different than other cleaners. It's better. They have patented ZR water. It's a very powerful cleaner, and they'll go to work very hard on getting those stains and odors out of your carpets and your area rugs and your upholstery, all of that. Don't forget to do the ductwork. Take advantage. This is a great offer. 24% off all services during the month of January if you call 314-474-2020 or online at ZeroResSTL.com when you mention my name or 97.1 FM Talk. You spell it backward or forward, it spells the same. Zero Res.
One of the things with running is I want to enjoy the run, but I never made it very far because the arches in my feet just killed me. So when I got to the end of my rope and I said I have to do something to get rid of the pain, and a couple people recommended the Good Feet store to me. I loved how I could go in and get a free personalized arch support fitting. They put that time, that work, that effort into helping you find the right arch supports. And you can walk around this store with these in your shoes and try them out before you purchase them. So after I got my arch supports, the arches on my feet stopped hurting and the pain instantly, literally instantly went away. So if you have pain, go. Find a Good Feet store and go. There is an answer. Find the simple solution that will get rid of your pain. I'm Rondi, and that's my Good Feet story.
See how Good Feet arch supports work for you before you buy with a free fitting and test walk at the Good Feet store.
Visit one of our 2 locations, Creve Coeur and Shiloh, Illinois, and at goodfeet.com.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
For details and a list of all station contest rules, visit www.971talk.com/rules.
So, Sue, they're actually in real time currently right now in D.C. The casket of former President Jimmy Carter had traveled from Georgia to Washington. And at this very moment, Vice President Harris is delivering a eulogy in the Capitol. You know who's not there?
Well, where's Joe Biden?
Where is Joe Biden? So the current president, I see the first gentleman, I see Speaker Johnson. The president's not there. Now, I know that he was supposed to be in California. They canceled the trip because of the weather that I mentioned, but you can't tell me that he wasn't supposed to be at this particular event. We'll find out
that's
more.
Odd.
Big story in the St. Louis Business Journal about the travel of our mayor, Tashara Jones. I mean, she was having a pretty good time going on junket to junket to junket. Now, I played this earlier because I noticed that her social media account on Twitter posted something that she had originally posted in mid-November, but she knew that this story was coming out today, so she kind of wanted to get ahead of it a little bit and said this. She's trying to justify all the spending.
It's important to me that our city has a seat at the table on a national level when there are opportunities for things like federal funding. My leadership positions in the U.S. Conference of Mayors, the African American Mayors Association, Mayors Against Illegal Guns, East-West Gateway, and the National League of Cities are instrumental in bringing resources to our city.
Yeah, I don't know how much the dues are for the mayors for illegal guns, but she might want to up the ante on that one because it ain't working here. So the story basically says it's entitled "The Traveling Mayor Tashara Jones' Aggressive Travel Schedule Marks a Major Departure from the Practices of Her Predecessors," but she says it's paying dividends for the city. I'm going to share some details here, but let's welcome in Jeff Rainford, who is one of those predecessors, if you will. He was the chief of staff for Mayor Slay many years ago. Jeff, how are you? Tell me that are you in Florida right now?
I am in Florida right now.
Did you miss the whole storm?
I missed the whole shebang.
All right, I'm not going to say anything more, but you're lucky. You're lucky that you did. This is an interesting story, isn't it? It's good reporting by Jacob Kim at the Business Journal. 64 trips during her 42 months in office. That seems a little excessive, Jeff.
Yeah, I think I know because I was part of Francis Slay's team for 14 of his 16 years. I know what it takes to be a mayor in the city of St. Louis, and it is a hyper-local job. You need to be on the ground in the city of St. Louis. You're running a $1 billion entity in the city of St. Louis. You have an airport. You have a police department. You have a water utility. You've got, all kinds of things going on, and things go wrong when the mayor is not here and not paying attention. The second thing is a big part of the job is that people expect the mayor to take leadership on other things happening in the city, even if it's outside city government, like education. And then the third aspect of it is the people of St. Louis expect to be able to see their mayor. So Francis, when he was in office, he worked 16-hour days, 5 days a week, half a day on Saturday and half a day on Sunday, and was out every night 2 or 3 times a night, going to ward meetings, neighborhood meetings, that sort of thing. If you want to be the mayor of a major American city, the job is, in this case, inside the 61 square miles of St. Louis. And there's virtually nothing that would justify that many trips and being away from the city that many times. And it's probably a longer discussion, but a lot of these grants are really just based on the application you put in. They're just the opposite. The people in the federal government do the applications don't want to be wined and dined and try to be influenced and that sort of thing. It really just comes down to whether the application you put in is good or bad. So I don't think there's a justification to travel this often and be away from the city this often for a job that requires you to have your boots on the ground.
Yeah, it is rather stunning. And they reference, and I don't know that they specifically lay out what you did when Mayor Slay was there, but they mentioned, I think when Lyda Kristen was in office, she took 4 trips. Is that it?
Yeah, I mean, Francis, we not only did Francis and I take, the reason I'm stuttering a little here is, he was unbelievable. Francis, not only didn't he not take business trips, he didn't take vacations. Matter of fact, it was a running joke for pretty much all 16 years that in March or April, I'd be like, Francis, we need to schedule 2 weeks off for you this summer to take a vacation. And the running joke after a while was, stop torturing me. I know something's going to come up and I'm not going to be able to go on vacation. Don't dangle it in front of me.
Right.
And he would be right. Something would go wrong. There'd be a storm that knocked out the power for days at a time. There'd be a crisis. There'd be a scandal, whatever it was. And so not only did he not go on trips, for business, the poor man never even went on trips for vacation. You almost rarely did he even take a vacation.
So you read the story. I mean, certainly you could probably justify some of it because mayors do travel. And when I said Lyda Krewson traveled 4 times, it was 4 times a year. But, I mean, this is every month a couple of different times throughout her tenure.
Yeah, I think that there are things that you could justify if they're for specific things, but nothing that rises to, the level that we're seeing with Mayor Jones. I mean, there's just, ultimately it's going to be up to the voters to decide. And one thing I've sort of learned in my many years in St. Louis, the voters may, the voters of the city may sometimes be out there as far as supporting progressive causes. But when it comes to this kind of thing, they've got a lot of common sense. I think they'll figure out whether it's a good thing or bad thing, and I trust them to judge this adequately.
I wonder how much amplification this will get, Rainford, from this perspective. It was a Business Journal report. I get the paywall on that thing. Luckily, I got past the paywall to read the story, but I don't even know if the Post will even do the story because they want to give credit to the Business Journal, so I'm not sure how much publicity this is going to get. It should get a lot, but I wonder.
Well, we're in an election year, so there are 2 other candidates for mayor. I'm sure they will talk about it. I'm always surprised with our voters in this city. Things just like you just said that I would think that would slip by their notice that they end up noticing. There were some charter changes that 4 of them put on the ballot, and one of them had some opposition from the comptroller. And I'm like, she put one letter to the editor in the Post. I'm like, well, that's not going to make any difference. And then the thing, it lost by 20 points. So I think that, we've got a lot of voters in the city who pay attention to things like this. Plus, you have the other candidates. Plus, the bigger question is what kinds of things are going wrong when the mayor's not in St. Louis, in City Hall, out on the streets, paying attention to what's going on. And the Post-Dispatch has reported on those things. The scandal in the building division, the ARPA money, we can go down the list.
Hey, by the way, before I let you go, I'm going to get the audience a little bit more up to speed on the details of the Business Journal report. So I'm going to do that in a second when I let you go. But how about the Kim Gardner audit? Did you check that out?
I did. I mean, none of that surprises me. I mean, we knew really quickly in that administration that they weren't, that her office was not doing its job. I mean, it became very evident very quickly. That's the same thing. You have got to be paying full-time attention to it. Now, that was probably the least of her failures, but it was certainly, a matter that when the voters elect somebody to be mayor, when the voters elect somebody to be prosecutor, they expect those 2 people to do those jobs, not underlings, not other people, while they're either traveling or while they're, taking night classes or whatever it is. They want people in these important jobs to be working full-time on them, not when it conveniences them.
It's ridiculous. And I'm glad it's getting exposed because we have a little journalism that's at work today in St. Louis. Not only that, but this Rainford, did you see the story about the 2 cops in Forest Park? Good Lord.
No, what happened
Oh,
there?
my God. You're not up to speed on that one? You got 2 cops that roll up on a body that's apparently a suicide. The dude is bleeding out and still breathing. And these 2 guys, former cops now, they're caught on the body cam saying they don't really want to deal with it because they get off their shift soon. Let's go away and come back later. So that's what they did and let the guy die.
So we had situations when we were in office where guys would go to roll call. Not a lot. Okay, this is not regular, but it did occur where guys would go to roll call and then they would go home because their shift supervisor wasn't paying attention to them and nobody was paying attention to the shift supervisor. I'm not saying what you described, that is, not the police chief's fault, but that's the fault of somebody who is managing within the police department, who's got to be staying on top of everything and how it's working. And, obviously in this case, there was a consequence, but I used to say when I was in City Hall, the minute you turn your back, the mice will play. For whatever reason, that's just how it is. And if you're not paying attention with, 100% of your effort, stuff goes wrong.
All right. Well, you're probably on a tee box somewhere. I hope you get eaten by an alligator. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
All right, see you later. I got actually some really good video from him and my friend Tim McGowan down there on Captiva, Sue, with huge gators from earlier this week. All right, so here's some of the details. Man, I'm telling you, she really had a good time. I don't know if she kept a travel log or maybe has a photo album or something, but the Business Journal and Jacob Kim says that Mayor Jones has traveled all over the U.S., 29 cities during her term. The trips began less than 3 months after taking office. Keep in mind, she's only been there since 2021, April of 2021. She went with Cori Bush to Denver in July of that year. They stayed at the Grand Hyatt downtown. The two officials, they say, studied a program in which mental health care professionals and social workers respond to some emergency calls without police backup. Later that month, she goes to Dallas to meet executives from Southwest Airlines and American Airlines. That trip might have been legit. You know, they're talking about, overhauling the airport into a single terminal. So maybe we give her a little pass on that one. Then she goes, and this is all like within a few months, New York City for this Bloomberg City Leadership Initiative. That in and of itself should set off warning signs because Mike Bloomberg is frighteningly crazy when it comes to crime and some of this other stuff. Then the next day, she leaves New York City. She goes to Dayton, Ohio, 4 days there for the U.S. Conference of Mayors senior leadership meeting. Then back to Denver for a nonpartisan conversation on voter rights. Good Lord. That was to include that city's mayor, Michael Hancock, Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot. Here's the grouping. And the NBA's Magic Johnson. That took up 3 days. The next month, we're still on 2021. We haven't even gotten to the next year. She hasn't even been in office a year. 6 days in D.C., her calendar said that leaders of the New Deal, a network of progressive elected officials, makes me want to throw up in my mouth a little bit, were meeting, and that she would attend the signing of the bipartisan infrastructure law, which took place on November 15th. Then a 3-day trip to Boston for the U.S. Conference of Mayors event. This is something different. 3 days for a commencement at Hampton University, her alma mater. 2 days for the Atlanta Mayor's Ball. This is all on the taxpayers' dime, right? She was gone from the city all or part of 41 days in 2022. That includes 6 days in Las Vegas for the, this is like, I love this, the International Council of Shopping Centers event. What the hell?
Oh,
where exactly are we bringing a shopping center to the city of St. Louis?
She's got to get rid of crime first.
Oh, my God. 5 days in Kansas City for the National League of Cities Summits, including one on violence. That was really, really helpful, I'm sure. 2 days at the Clinton Global Initiative meeting in New York City. That was just 2022. Then 2023, she's gone for all or parts of 49 days, 3 trips in each of the months, February and October. 2 in March, April, May, November, and December. They highlight, I guess she returns to Vegas. Oh, there was another one. She returned to Vegas for an International Council of Shopping Centers showcase. So that was just part of it. This just goes on and on and on. And of course, the flack at the mayor's office is, well, these allowed the mayor to meet with representatives of the top retailers in the country, including Target.
What?
at the whole shopping centers thing. So what was the payback? What's the ROI for going to Vegas for the International Council of Shopping Centers showcase? I'll tell you what the benefit is. Tashara can go out and see some shows and have fun and go to Vegas for a few days. What's the ROI that the city of St. Louis, name one thing that benefited the city of St. Louis. Now, I think I'm personally a believer that this kind of stuff happens all the time with people in government. They take these junkets, they do it on the taxpayer dime, and it gets out of control. It's ridiculous. So I'm glad that it's being highlighted here by the Business Journal. But I love the fact. Now, she's not out there defending herself today. She's just reposting things from Twitter that were up there a month ago saying, hey, these junkets really bring in good things for the city of St. Louis. Tell that to the people who can't get a 911 call answer,
no kidding.
Right?
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
We've got an accident involving an overturned vehicle southbound 270. Well, actually, nope, it's northbound. An overturned vehicle northbound 270 on that ramp to westbound 370. And of course, that has caused a delay. If you are in that area, it's a little bit of a slow go. Now, westbound 70 looks pretty good out of downtown. Still a little bit slow out in the O'Fallon area at Highway K. We still have serious side street problems and problems on certain ramps. So you still have to be careful out there. I know the ramp from northbound 270 to westbound 364 is pretty slow right now. And there's an accident westbound 44 at Elm. It's been blocking the right lanes, and there's a jam behind that. 55 looks great. If you're taking that out of downtown, it's fine. Or if you're headed into Illinois, we look good on the bridges downtown. In fact, we look really good there. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk. Listen, if you have avoided thinking about or planning your retirement because it's just too much for you to handle, it's overwhelming, it seems like it's just not going to pan out for you because you don't know what you're doing, I've got the answer. And it's a 3-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. It's really easy. It's a one-night class. It's taught by a fiduciary advisor from financial and tax architects, and these people have decades of experience with this. And it's cool. They're held at colleges and libraries throughout St. Louis, and you learn everything you're going to need to know. Tax-saving strategies, IRA and 401k withdrawals. Do you need a Roth conversion? Social Security and more, and it's free. But they ask that you bring 3 canned goods for the St. Louis Crisis Nursery. Now, there are still openings for classes this month and next, so call 314-947-2012, 314-947-2012. It's a number for me, so that's 314-947-2012. I think you will be pleased.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, wherever the mission takes us, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
St. Jude exceeds any expectation or any dream I could have ever had about a hospital. First was getting David here to save his life. But then I was told we wouldn't get a bill. I didn't quite process that. How's this possible? It's possible through all the wonderful people who donate.
It's pretty amazing when you consider that 7 years ago, we didn't have the treatments we have now. We cure 80% of children with cancer. If you think about that, I mean, go back 50 years, we were curing 20 to 30%. This is the miracle story of modern medicine.
The research here is research that we share with everyone else because overall, we want to help all children that have cancer. What makes that possible is people that give to St. Jude. They really help us to fulfill our mission, and we're so grateful to have them on our team.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
lot of stuff to cover, and we're just scratching the surface here this afternoon. Chief Fitch is going to be with us, former St. Louis County Police Chief and former St. Louis Councilman. If you haven't heard the story about the two police officers who are now former police officers in the body in Forest Park, we're going to get you updated on that. Jane's going to join us as well because of all this stuff that's going on with not only, I haven't even touched on Sam Page and some of that nonsense too, because there's some interesting stuff happening with the St. Louis County Council as well in Sam Page. All right, Sue, I just got this. I'm not surprised. Guess what it is?
What?
School closed again tomorrow.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm not surprised, though, because
I'm not
telling you,
either.
if you look at the side streets in particular, the buses have to navigate this, so it's hard for me to hold this against the school districts. I get it.
Yeah.
But, man, to me this was, I know it was a serious storm, I said this, but it seems to be playing out a lot more seriously than we expected. I mean, 3 days of no school?
I know, it's a lot. And I got there was a post from Chesterfield, the police department out there, and they're talking about the on-ramp from Chesterfield Airport Road at Baxter. It's closed due to road conditions. Several vehicles have gotten stranded. So, I mean, it's not an uncommon thing right now.
No.
I guess I kind of get it, but it's frustrating to people out there.
Here's my ask for the audience. If there's anyone out there that would allow me to drop a 10-year-old by right around 1 o'clock tomorrow, pick her up. I don't know. You can keep her for a couple of days. They may not have school on Thursday either, so I'm willing to let you have her for 2 or 3 days, depending. You know, I told you, too, this is I don't have regrets about this, but we did not send her back to school last Thursday and Friday because she was in this all-day soccer camp. And the philosophy was, look, it's 2 days. I don't know why they're not waiting until next week. But then the end result is this kid has had like a month off school.
Wow.
I don't think that that's good. A couple of random stories here before we get to the 5 o'clock hour. There was an Associated Press story that cleared earlier today. Actually, it might have been yesterday that said this. A medical journal has published the most reliable estimate yet of how many young people receive gender-affirming medications. The AP is about one of the most biased news organizations out there. They shouldn't be because they should be trusted. You have publications, broadcast outlets from across the country that have to pay the Associated Press for their content, and it's revolting in many situations. In this, they say in their tweet, fewer than 1 in 1,000 U.S. adolescents received puberty blockers or hormones during a recent 5-year period. So Dan Crenshaw, who is, he's the one-eyed congressman guy from Texas. I like him quite a bit. His response and retweet to this was, let me fix it for you. 1 in 1,000 means 40,000 total. 40,000 children's lives ruined by radical pseudoscience gender transition procedures. We will put a stop to this. Somebody else responded, hey, 1 in 1,000, that's kind of a pandemic. And we shut the whole country and world down for that. So just any kind of justification when it comes to child abuse is just complete nonsense, and I'm glad that people corrected it pretty thoroughly throughout the course of the day. You know who Robbie Starbuck is?
No.
Sue? He's a guy out there who has a big presence on social media, and he has been the we have John Seiler on the show quite a bit. John is someone who has led the charge on DEI and getting universities in particular to pull back. Mizzou did it. Michigan did on some of this DEI stuff. John was involved in this for the past 2 years, even before the New York Times, did their big piece in the fall. But Robbie Starbuck has been going after companies out there when it comes to their woke ideologies. And the next success story he has, the next, I guess you'd say, notch on his belt is McDonald's.
We've got a new company flipping their position on DEI, and that company is McDonald's. Now, let me tell you how this happened and what the details are. I've just got to give X a shout out here because I actually reached out to McDonald's on X to their senior marketing director on Friday. You can see here. So Friday, I sent them a detailed message. I'm not going to share the whole thing here, but a detailed message about DEI. I mean, you can read this part, no problem. And that was Friday, so 3 days ago. And today, this statement came out. First bullet point, we are retiring setting aspirational representation goals. And then it's a bunch of blah, blah, blah corporate speak. Let me translate what that means. McDonald's, like many Fortune 500 companies, they had what they would call targets or goals. In reality, they work like racial quotas, but they say these are certainly not quotas. Don't call them that. This is just a goal for them to hire, say, 50% people of color, whatever it might be, into a certain position. And then wouldn't you know it, they hire just the amount that they put, but it's not a quota. Don't call it a quota.
Yeah, so he goes on here because, and there was a big memo that went out from the CEO of McDonald's today sort of explaining some of this stuff.
Second bullet point, and always one of my favorites, we are pausing external surveys to focus on the work we are doing internally. AKA, we are leaving the HRC's corporate equality Quality Index social credit scoring system. Keep in mind, this was a company that had a perfect HRC CEI score, and that HRC CEI scoring system is how woke policies get forced into workplaces.
That's right. And so a lot of this, I can read this to you. It's going to be blah, 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 because it's corporate, blah, blah, blah. But what the memo said today, and this was the, the CEO comes out with all this. Last year, we completed a comprehensive civil rights audit that looked at all aspects of inclusion across our system. We also engaged with shareholders to understand their expectations and assess the overall landscape of shareholder proposals. That means we got really bad feedback from people who are our franchise owners, right? So they say, based on this comprehensive review, we are affirming the following. McDonald's position and our commitment to inclusion is steadfast. Since our founding, we've prided ourselves on understanding that the foundation of our business is people. At the same time, following our comprehensive review, let me just call it down. We like inclusion, but we're not going to do the inclusive stuff that everyone doesn't like anymore because it's nonsense and it's likely illegal. We are retiring setting aspirational representation goals and instead keeping our focus on continuing to embed inclusion practices that grow our business into our everyday processes and operations. I got an idea. How about you just grow your business and you make food that people want and maybe things will kind of fall in place there. We are pausing external surveys to focus on the work we're doing internally to grow the business. Let me ask this question. How much more money could maybe the part-time employee at McDonald's make if they're not spending all this crap on DEI initiatives?
That's
right?
a good question.
Maybe an African-American or a Latinx employee at McDonald's, mocking that, of course, should raise some points about that. We're retiring supply chain's mutual commitment to DEI pledge in favor of a more, this is where it gets blah, 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 integrated discussion with suppliers about inclusion as it relates to business performance. We're evolving how we refer to our, this is interesting, we're evolving how we refer to our diversity team, which now, Sue, will be called the Global Inclusion Team. The name change is more fitting for McDonald's in light of our inclusion value and better aligns with this team's work. All I know is that for the first time in years, about 6 months ago, I had a quarter pounder with cheese, and it was delicious. And that's really all I care about at this point. Third hour is coming up. Hang in there after Fox News.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hey, some good news on the roads. They cleared that accident westbound 44 at Elm. So 44 drivers, things looking better through there. But we've got an accident now eastbound 6440, a little bit past 270, pretty close to Ballas. It's been blocking the right lanes. Traffic, of course, is slowing behind that. We had an accident involving an overturned vehicle northbound 270 on the ramp to westbound 370. So some slow-moving traffic in that area. Some of the ramps are still really tricky. Side streets, if they have not been plowed, of course, in bad shape. And then, of course, it's going to be 10 degrees tonight, so we will have a refreeze by tomorrow. Now, if you are traveling into Illinois on the bridges downtown, things look fine. We look quiet on eastbound 270 through North County, and 55 is in good shape as well. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. This report brought to you by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning on 97.1 FM Talk.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Story Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Story Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Land Story Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit LanceDruryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Teachers shape the future. Right now, in a classroom somewhere in the United States, there's a teacher inspiring a future scientist who'll make preventing pandemics their life's work, sharpening the mind of an aspiring environmentalist who'll help combat climate change, and generating possibilities for a student who'll be the first in their family to graduate college. Explore a career that leaves a legacy you can be proud of. Teach. Learn more and receive free support at teach.org.
I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. A service in the Capitol Rotunda as former President Jimmy Carter lies in state. Vice President Harris saying Carter established a new model for what it means to be a former president.
From founding the Carter Center, which has helped advance global human rights and alleviate human suffering, to his public health work in Latin America and Africa.
Harris saying Jimmy Carter left the world better than he found it, and may his life be a lesson for others. Carter's body will lie in state at the Capitol until Thursday, when a funeral service will be held at the National Cathedral in Washington. He'll be buried in Georgia next to his wife, Rosalind. The Biden administration has asked a federal appeals court to block a plea agreement for accused 9/11 mastermind Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and two co-defendants that would spare them the death penalty. The Justice Department arguing that the government would be irreparably harmed if the guilty pleas were accepted, and the government would be denied a chance for a public trial and perhaps capital punishment against the three men. They're charged with a heinous act of mass murder that caused the death of thousands of people. Last year, the military judge at Guantanamo and a military appeals panel rejected Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's effort to throw out the agreement, saying he had no power to do so. People who live in the Pacific Palisades neighborhood of Los Angeles fleeing their homes as a fire fueled by dangerous winds rips through the hillsides.
California Governor Gavin Newsom directing state departments to strategically position additional support in key areas, including 65 local government fire engines, 7 water tenders, 7 helicopters, and more than 105 specialized personnel. LA's Department of Water and Power urging folks to stay clear of any downed wires and immediately report them.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin. The National Weather Service says the Santa Ana winds could be the strongest in more than a decade. America's listening to Fox News.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to goodrx.com/GLP. That's goodrx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Partly cloudy skies for evening plans, and it's time to bundle up as temperatures drop out of the 20s into the upper teens, and 6 will do it for the low. On Wednesday, sunny and cold, 22. Wednesday night, clear and very cold, down to 3. Coldest of this Arctic high pressure will be Wednesday night. Thursday, sunny and 32. Little bit of light snow late Thursday night and into Friday. It looks fairly limited. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Wouldn't you like to take a vacation from your bills? Well, you can. With credit card balances at an all-time high and Golden Oak's 5.25% rate, you could be saving thousands of dollars after a simple phone call. Call today and get your cash in as little as 14 days and make no payments for 2 months. Call 314-567-GOLD.
Golden Oak Landing cured my blues.
6.19 APR, FHA, 15-year, 20% equity qualified credit. Additional terms apply. NMLS 114937.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-700-6898. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-700-6898. That's 800-700-6898. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898.
When a parent struggles with addiction or dies from a drug overdose, what happens to their children? Far too many end up in foster care, unable to ever return to their birth homes because it's simply not safe. The Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption is fighting the clock so that teens don't age out of foster care, leaving them at a higher risk of addiction and other negative outcomes that can happen to a child without the love and stability of a permanent family. Learn more at davethomasfoundation.org.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts.
Oh, yeah. Always a pleasure to be bumping back in with a little Richie Blackmore and Rainbow on a Tuesday evening. So this story about the 2 police officers in the city of St. Louis is quite unfortunate, sad, disgusting,
Disturbing.
all of those things, right? Great reporting from Lauren Trager from KMOV. Lauren was on a little earlier. We're going to welcome in former Police Chief Tim Fitch in a second here of St. Louis County. He has some thoughts on this. But let me play what KMOV broke last night with this story. This is Lauren kind of narrating the details.
Damn, who right there? Somebody right there. Swear to God. No, he ain't dead. You lie.
September 10th, 2023, still sunny in Forest Park at 6:20 p.m. A man lying on the ground, shot, but still breathing.
You shoot himself in the head? I don't know.
That's now former SLMPD officer Austin Frazier. He is not wearing a camera. It's his partner, Ty Warren's, that is rolling. Together, they make a decision.
We better take this motherfucker down. We ain't taking this in 30 minutes. Let's cruise around and come back.
A minute and 10 seconds on scene, changing lives forever. Laughing as they walk away from a person and the public who needed them to protect and serve.
It is just stunning. So essentially, there is a suicide victim, in theory, who is, shot, bleeding out and having difficulty breathing. And the cops roll up on him and decide, hey, we're almost off our shift. We're going to do something else. Former St. Louis County Police Chief, he was also my former St. Louis County Councilman Tim Fitch is here. Wow. I know you've seen a lot in your career, but this one is a jaw dropper, I think.
It is. And, Mark, usually I rarely ever criticize the actions of police. I hate to, when people, Monday morning quarterback them. But this is one of those where Lauren Trager asked me to take a look at it. And it was a no-brainer that I had to say this isn't how police work is done. And there is some positive news here as well, as the rest of the officers, other than the first two that responded, did exactly what they should have done.
And I pointed that out several times because it was like completely opposite. They were professional, following up on things. And by the way, also asking questions about the other two dudes because listen to this.
On video this time, Warren and Frazier walk away again, leaving their fellow officers to handle it now.
It's up. Warren and Frazier just left. Why? I don't know.
Yeah, so that's an interesting, the cops on the scene realized something was fishy at the time.
That's right. And my guess is somebody went to a supervisor and said this wasn't right. We don't know what happened. We don't know the whole story. But these guys basically walked away, and the supervisor reviewed, from what Lauren told me, reviewed the videotape from the body camera and said, no, this isn't right, and launched the internal investigation, which is what they should have done. And the two guys were both fired because of it. And unfortunately, the only part that's still kind of left hanging out there is where the heck is the gun? Where did that thing go?
Yeah. I have a theory on that, and I think, don't you think somebody else came up upon the body and they're like, there's a gun, we're just going to take the gun, especially in Forest Park?
Possible. There's more than that possibility. It's possible that it could have happened somewhere else, and somebody took him and dropped him at the tree. Was there a blood trail? Did he? I doubt it was. According to the video, it was a through and through head wound. So I've heard that they're looking for the gun still. I'm not sure how. And they said it hasn't been used since this incident happened in 2023. But if it was a through and through, that means the bullet's gone. If it's a through and through, so I don't know how they would be able to do ballistics without the bullet itself, unless it wasn't a through and through and the bullet was left in the head, and then they'd recover it. They'd put it into something called NIBIN, which is the ATF tracing software. And if it's used again and a bullet with the same markings on it comes up, then they know they have a match if they have the gun. But as of 2023, up till today, last I knew, it had not been recovered.
This is another one of those things. You started talking about how you don't rarely criticize police. I don't either, because I want to support law enforcement. Now, on every once in a while, you have to, right? And this is certainly one of those situations. But I think that it's really got to be hard on the other officers, especially those that showed up, Chief, on the scene. The officers are trying to do their jobs, because then it goes back to everyone thinking the cops are doing something bad.
That's right. And then it doesn't help the reputation of any law enforcement agency when you have these things that happen. And I am a bit disappointed in the leadership in the city police department that they didn't bring this forward once they discovered it and be transparent about it. They kept it very quiet until Lauren Trager reached out to them and said, "What say you?" And they basically said, "We can't talk about it because it's a personnel issue." Right. Well, no, these guys have been fired. You fired them. You admitted you fired them. Great. Why aren't you apologizing to the family and talking to the family and telling the community this isn't how we do work, instead of just hiding behind it's a personnel matter?
Yeah, because it's always going to be worse when you start hiding and not answering questions. Now, I think you were asked this by Lauren, but are there potential criminal charges for the officers, Tim?
Well, if you go back, and there's a Supreme Court ruling, and it goes way back, like the mid-1800s, South versus Maryland. Basically, the court ruled that police officers aren't obligated to protect individuals unless they have a special relationship with them. So what would that be? Like someone's under arrest. That's a special, you're now obligated to protect them. But short of that, there's no constitutional duty to protect individuals. And, instead, police are obligated to protect the public as a whole, is what the court ruling said. So that's why I don't believe there's any kind of criminal violation here, but certainly there could be civil implications.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate story. I think it is good that it is exposed. We actually had a lot of good journalism around here today because we've been talking about the situation with the mayor and her travel. I'm sure you're kind of dialed into that. That was a report in the Business Journal. There's Sam Page shenanigans going on as usual that the Post-Dispatch and Joe Holloman is highlighting today. Jane's going to weigh in on that, but there's lots of stuff happening locally, Tim.
No doubt about it. And Lauren is about the best TV investigator you're going to find in St. Louis now that Christine Byers has moved on. But those two, they were wicked when it came to investigations like this.
Well, I love Lauren. She has the title of the official investigative reporter of the Mark Reardon Show. Comes with no compensation, but let's face it, that's a hell of a title, right?
Yeah, it's the same with me. When she called and said, "Would you talk about this?" It comes with no compensation. It's just, we have to talk about these things and say this is not right. This is an anomaly.
Yeah, well, I certainly hope so, but that's going to be pretty shocking to people who see it. Let me go back to New Orleans real quick because we talked about that last week. And, one thing that became a little confusing after that attack and after maybe you and I had a conversation is Ann Kirkpatrick, who is the, I don't know, is she the police chief of New Orleans or is there a different title?
Yeah, she has the title of superintendent of police. By the way, that was my title as the county police chief.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but she's the superintendent of police, which is the chief.
Do you know her at all? Do you have a relationship with her?
I do.
Okay, because
I do.
You said because she came up. Now, what I said was, okay, maybe this is someone that people in New Orleans kind of know and appreciate, but she didn't come off as super competent with some of the ways that she was handling that last week.
No. She's a gypsy chief. I like to call them that, where they bounce from department to department. She was the chief at 3 departments in the Seattle area, the state of Washington. And then she was the Oakland police chief in California. And then she was doing some work in Chicago for a while. And so she's kind of bounced, but her history, she's a lawyer. She's an attorney, is her background. She went to law school when she was a Memphis police officer in Tennessee. But it's probably, I can't believe they haven't sacrificed her yet in New Orleans. And my guess is long term, she won't survive this.
Yeah, you kind of wonder about that. So there's some new reporting that's in the Post-Dispatch right now that talks about one of your former colleagues, Mark Harder, who's a Republican from Baldwin, calling for an audit to investigate the county prosecuting attorney's office. You think that's something that's warranted right now?
Absolutely. You have a new prosecutor. The best time to do an audit is when you have someone new that's in there. I mean, if I was Melissa Price Smith, I would welcome it with open arms and say, please, our books and records are open to you, Mr. Auditor, and let's see what he finds, just like we saw what he just did in the city with the circuit attorney's office.
So and Jane's going to address this a little bit too, but let me have you handicap the current situation with the county council. I mentioned Joe Holloman wrote about this today. The headline, Sam Page continues to rack up political losses in New Year. It's rather staggering. I mean, the guy doesn't ever score a political win, but he's still in this big, powerful position. Now you got the majority of the council that seemingly is against him. So is there, this was something that was dangled out there by the Post yesterday, is there a possibility that this council could remove Sam Page from office?
Possibly. I was at the inauguration just a few hours ago, and Sam Page showed his face, just like he did at Melissa Price Smith's swearing in, which everybody was shocked that he would dare show his face there after fighting so hard to keep her from getting the job. Well, he showed up today at the inauguration for the new council members, and he sat almost in the very back row. He didn't talk to any of them. He didn't congratulate them. And the more interesting part is they knew he was there. The council knew he was there and didn't even recognize that he was in the room. That's a preview of coming attractions, and I think you're going to see something tonight on the council meeting tonight where they're going to override, for the very first time, override one of his vetoes. He's always sustained the vetoes because he always had Ernie Trachis that would back him up and vote with Lisa Clancy and Kelly Dunaway. Well, guess what? And you need 5 of the 7 votes to override. So they have 5, actually 6, 6-1 right now. Lisa Clancy, who, by the way, didn't show up today at the inauguration. The rest of the council members were there. So I think she sees the writing on the wall for herself as well. So she wasn't there today. And my guess is they're going to override this bill, this Dennis Hancock bill, to pay his lawyer fees that Page vetoed. So I think they'll override that.
Yeah, so Dennis Hancock is my councilman. He took over your position. He had tried to hire his stepdaughter. It got flagged. He's like, okay, I'm not going to hire her. But then Wesley Bell and Sam Page decide that they want to try to remove him as a councilman. The courts get involved. He's not removed as a councilman. But then they try to file criminal charges against Diane Valenti, who is the council's clerk, the county council's clerk, because they claim that she manipulated paperwork or whatever. It seemed way overreaction. Even the aforementioned Lisa Clancy, the nuts on the council, flagged this. Nobody thought it was a good idea. The new prosecutor comes in, gets sworn in, and one of the first things she does is dismiss those charges, right?
Yep, and I talked to Diane Valenti today at the council meeting, and she said she cannot believe the overwhelming support she received, not just from the community and former elected officials, but current ones. And she was overwhelmed by the support because everybody knew what it was, and it was a political hit job by Sam Page.
Tim, if you're in politics, you have to have allies. Who the hell is an ally for Sam Page?
Well, it's simple. It's the people he hires. It's their family members. It's the people that get county contracts. Those are the only people. The day Sam Page isn't in that office, and that'll happen someday, the day he will be the loneliest person in St. Louis.
Wow. Well, listen, thank you for your reaction to this afternoon. Always interesting, and I appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Take care. That is former St. Louis County Police Chief Tim Fitch, former councilman as well. Jane's coming up. We're going to talk to Jane about some of these things as well. We'll cover all of this on the roundtable. You know, we had Brian Ping on, Sue, earlier this afternoon. I saw this story in the L.A. Times today about these high winds out in the L.A. area and the potential damage to power lines, fire potential. And, you know, I thought to myself, this is going to be a big story because it just seems so potentially devastating, and some of that is playing itself out. And even Brian, when he was on from KNX in Los Angeles, said this is going to get some national attention. You have 2 fires that have ignited in the Los Angeles area, and these are very more populated areas. Even West Hollywood, there's one in Pacific Palisades that has grown to 770 acres in forced evacuations, and they're talking about huge high winds. Here's the other thing. There's some of the electric providers out there are initiating planned power shutoffs to limit the fires. So the winds, think about that. There's a double whammy. The winds could, make the fires worse. Certainly, they can bring the power lines down, but they're also going to turn the power off because of the fire. So this is really a serious situation in the Los Angeles area. You know, the way Brian was explaining was interesting. He's in Long Beach, and he says there was no wind there at all because of the way that the mountains are and depending on where you are. But that is a significant story in the Los Angeles area that's developing right now, and I think it's going to get a lot worse in the next couple of days.
It might, especially if, well, I don't know. When you say it affects some parts of California and not others, they've got mountains. They've got it all.
Yeah, but what's interesting about this is I think, especially the video, Brian shared this, where you have flames that are right there in West Hollywood. Our friend George Gray lives in the Hollywood Hills. And I just told Fred we might want to get George on tomorrow because if he lives very near what's the Universal Studios.
Okay.
His backyard is one of the, it's not his backyard proper, but if you look over George's fence into the distance, you have a big area that even he told me up until about 15 years ago they used as a movie set on Universal Studios. But it's an area that has a lot. I think there have been fires back there before. Now that I just mentioned that, I remember there was a fire that occurred in that particular area by Universal Studios. And I remember checking with George saying, hey, dude, are you all right? And he said, yeah, nothing got too close to him, but you have to wonder in a situation like this. We'll keep you posted on that for sure. Jane Dueker coming up next to respond to some of these other stories in the city, which are very interesting and damaging and entertaining all at the same time.
Follow Mark on Twitter at Mark Reardon KFTK and Instagram at Mark Talk. You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show.
We still have issues on the roads. Watch out for an accident westbound 6440 at Lindbergh. This is blocking the left lane, and we've got a jam behind it. Accident reported westbound 70 on the on-ramp from 141. Let's see. Police have been called. This is interesting. They've been called to check out a car that's buried in the snow, and it's kind of on the shoulder there along eastbound 6440, just a little bit west of the Boone Bridge. So they've got the right lane to try to get in there and see what's going on with that vehicle. Also, there was an accident involving an overturned vehicle northbound 270 on the ramp to westbound 370. The ramp is open now, but we still have that overturned problem through there. Quiet through North County, quiet on the bridges downtown. 44 is slowing. And it's mainly because we had an earlier accident at Elm and all the volume has moved to the west. So if you're taking that, it's a slow go as you head toward Lindbergh, and then things open up just a bit. This report brought to you by Overhead Door of St. Louis. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is here with same-day emergency service. They won't leave you stuck. The original Red Ribbon Garage Door Company, trusted in St. Louis since 1926. Call 314-781-5200 or schedule online at overheaddoorstlewis.com. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, to my fellow gambling enthusiasts out there, Underdog Fantasy Sports is now here in Missouri, and this is the best place to cash in on all your takes during the NFL playoffs. In particular, you can play a little Blues hockey as well. This is not an NBA city. There's a lot of NBA stuff up there on Underdog as well. I kind of avoid that. But look, first thing to do, go to the App Store, download Underdog Fantasy. It's a yellow app. You'll see it, Underdog. Put your username in there, sign up for an account, get a password, and then use the promo code MARKR because they're going to match some of the money. You can get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly with that promo code. So it's MARKR, M-A-R-K. Don't use a C. That's Mark Cox. MARKR. It's awesome. You can put all kinds of different fantasy wagers together on the NFL playoffs. And they even have really, really cool things because if you put three different deals together, like Saquon Barkley under 100 yards, Josh Jacobs of the Packers over 100 yards, and then maybe you put another pick in there for another NFL game, or even the Blues. If you only win two of those and not three, you can still cash out. They have awesome opportunities like that. So go to Underdog Fantasy, get an account, use the code MARKR, have some fun, win some money. Must be 18 and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
And a lot of people, when they come in, they'll say, I'm usually much more active, but since I've been in pain, I've had to limit the activities I'm doing.
You're listening to Janelle, an arch support specialist at the Good Feet store.
So he came in and he wanted to be able to keep up play sports with his kids. And from there, we figure out which arch supports complement those activities. I fit him with the arch supports, and as I followed up with him, he's messaged me and said, I took my kids to the park today. We're walking, we're exercising, riding the bikes, and those are all things that he wasn't doing before because he was in pain.
For over 25 years, the Good Feet store's arch support specialists have been helping folks to live the life they love without foot, knee, hip, or back pain getting in the way.
Our goal is to have that long-term change for them. That's what's most important, is knowing that you leave an impact on someone's life. And I like that.
Try them for yourself. Stop in for a free personalized fitting and test walk at the Good Feet store.
Visit one of our two locations, Creve Coeur and Shiloh, Illinois, and at goodfeet.com.
5:26. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
97.1 FM Talk presents Talk in Action, where we shine a spotlight on local charities making a difference in our community. Join us as we give back and connect neighbors in need. Visit 971talk.com/talkinaction to learn more.
I have an audio cut of the day coming up here before the end of the hour. On tomorrow's show, we're going to talk about this a little bit with Jane in a second. The auditor of the state of Missouri, Scott Fitzpatrick, they came out with this audit of the circuit attorney's office. It's quite stunning. Maybe not so, because some of us were calling this out all along when it was happening. I'll get to some details on that here in just a minute. We have Alex Rich here in the 4 o'clock hour tomorrow. I'm going to play a little game in the 4 o'clock hour tomorrow called Recycle or Not. I was going through the... Got a little confusion during the holidays with when I was supposed to put out my trash and recycling. And they had changed our pickup. Used to be on Tuesday night and Wednesday night. So that would be Wednesday morning and Thursday morning. Now it's different. It's Wednesday or it's Thursday and then Friday, and you're supposed to put out the garbage first, and it used to be the recycling first. Anyway, I go online and I look at all this, and I think a lot of people know this, but I'm shocked by how much you really are not supposed to recycle. And I don't even know why people recycle anything, because most of what we put in the recycle bins, you can't recycle. So I've come up with a little game called Recycle or Not. Jane, how do you think you'd do in that game? You think you'd do all right?
I do terrible.
It's a fun game, though. It is a fun game. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing okay. I mean, things are, the good thing is a lot of things are being exposed right now, which makes me happy.
So let's envision that we are playing Wheel of Fortune, since we're talking about games. And I'm spinning the wheel right now. And on that wheel, Jane, we have several options. One, we have Tashara Jones, the mayor of St. Louis, traveling more days than she actually works in the city of St. Louis. On another option, we have the audit of Kim Gardner. On another, we have Sam Page and his shenanigans. You get to pick first. Dealer's choice. Go.
Oh, I think we go with the audit, the state audit.
All right.
I mean, because unprecedented. I mean, he looked at so many important things in this audit. And first of all, I mean, the first and foremost, she basically stopped prosecuting. I mean, they dumped 60, they refused 60% of the cases applied for. Now you know why the cops were just coming unwound, because they're arresting the same people over and over and over again. Okay, so that goes without saying, because she basically said she was going to stop prosecuting, and she did. So we all know that now, and the numbers are very disturbing. But then we also have, just the abuse of taxpayer dollars, taking the contingency fund and spending it on restaurants and flowers. And I mean, everybody just thinks that, the taxpayer dollars is just their personal ATM.
Well, let me highlight that a little bit, because, what I said earlier, there's a lot of commonality here between the credit card usage at St. Louis Public Schools, right? But yeah, there's a couple of different charges here. One for about $5,100, another for about, I think $1,500 that goes for food and drink and stuff like that. They were supposed to motivate the staff, Jane. That's what they were doing with that. But are the taxpayers supposed to pay? It's $5,000 also to save her law license. So she's spending money like crazy. That's the taxpayers.
Correct. And it's very, and then there were no checks and balances on any of, the accounting procedures to make sure that this stuff wouldn't happen. It's very scary to me too, that one, they think procurement doesn't apply to them, and so they don't have to go out for bid on anything. If that's the case, Wesley Bell tried to peddle that nonsense too. If that's the case, then the state needs to pass a law that says the prosecutor's office has to comply with procurement laws, because that's ridiculous that they think that they're exempt from that. Seized property, didn't keep track of any of it. Capital assets, they had no idea. Like, when I worked for the state, or when you work for any governmental body, they put stickers on everything to keep track of all the property. Well, they didn't do any of that. So, she didn't return her computer for 7 months after she resigned. She had a computer with prosecutor information on it. I mean, unbelievable. And I'm glad that he talked about the fact that they had the CaseNet is the system in which it's the electronic filing system.
Right.
And it's also a system that you can look at, court records. But they had everybody's passwords, and people were filing pleadings and dismissing cases on behalf of lawyers without their consent. I mean, that's unethical. It's illegal. It's unethical. It's fraud. I mean, how this woman still has a law license is beyond comprehension.
Okay, and this is where if there's a damn member of the Missouri Supreme Court that let her off the hook because they were afraid of the racial implications, they should be freaking ashamed of themselves right now, because she should not have a law office. But here's a couple of the other nuggets. She used office money to pay for $1,684 in fees to allow out-of-state attorneys to appear in court here to represent her in the lawsuit seeking her removal from office. $58,482 from a contingency fund, Jan. I don't know if you know a lot about this, but they describe it as meant to pay for things like helping witnesses get to court. Instead, that's where they bought the food, car detailing, credit card late fees. I thought that was an interesting thing, and a new circuit attorney's office website. What's the credit card late fees about?
Well, yeah, because she couldn't even pay her bills on time. I mean, it's not even her money, and she couldn't pay her bills on time. So, I mean,
I shouldn't even be laughing, because it's disgusting.
No. It's disgusting. And I feel like I'm glad that this is all coming to light. I mean, just wait till they do the audit at Wesley Bell's office. It's going to be 10 times
that's
worse.
underway.
But
here's the other thing, Jane. Look, we talked about a lot of this. We were calling you, me, other people were calling Kim Gardner out. I'll give even a little credit to the Post-Dispatch because they were describing the situation because a big part of this audit reveals that she's going to nursing school for 50 days and hours during the time that she's supposed to be working at the circuit attorney's office. We were trying to call that out, but it never mattered. And in the end here, is there going to be any repercussions for Kim Gardner?
That's what I want to know.
No, it doesn't seem like it.
She got a diversion out of the feds. And, okay, if you do, a couple of these things, then she gets to benefit from the stupid policies that she implemented at the expense of citizens. I mean, the whole thing is just really frustrating to me because there are a ton of people who went to jail for a lot less.
Oh, I would agree with that. What do you make? I think you alluded to this here a second ago with the procurement, but this was an unusual line in the story that the Post did, and I didn't really quite understand it. They cite Circuit Attorney Gabe Gore, who took over for Kim, seemingly is doing a good job, is running for re-election, and I guess he attaches a memo to the audit questioning the auditor's authority to conduct such a broad review of the office and argued that it wasn't subject to the state law regarding competitive bidding because the office is independent from the city. That's what you're talking about with the procurement issue?
I'm talking about, well, there's two issues there.
Okay.
The one issue is for some reason both the city and the county prosecutors say that the procurement laws don't apply to them. So if that's the case or if there's any question about it, then that needs to be made very clear because these people have shown that they are not able to spend appropriately or procure services or goods from the lowest bidder. The other issue is I think there's always been people have complained that the auditor doesn't have the authority to do performance audits. You have the financial audit, which looks at all the money. The performance audit, like, for example, when he was looking at how many cases they prosecuted, how many were sitting around, and the actual performance of their duties. People will sometimes still complain that the auditor does not have authority to do that. And I disagree because I think we want performance audits. But that's that didn't really start until Claire McCaskill. That was when that brawl first started, was because she started doing performance audits on people saying, okay, are you doing the job you're supposed to be doing? And I find it as a taxpayer that it's very helpful to know that she didn't prosecute. We want to know. And
I would agree. Well, let me shift gears here. Let's talk about the mayor, the traveling mayor. Love, this is the headline of Jacob Kim's story in the St. Louis Business Journal. Pretty good reporting here. They talk about how our mayor was out of town on work trips at least 64 times during her first 42 months in office. All kinds of junkets everywhere across the country, back and forth, many on consecutive days. Rainford was on earlier. Francis didn't do this. Even Lyda Cruson only took 4 trips a year. This is crazy, Jane.
This is crazy. And look, you talk about how many days Kim Gardner missed because she was doing nursing school.
How about this?
Well, this is like 100. Look, it's 2 or 3 days a trip. I looked through the trips. It's 2 or 3 days a trip. I mean, you're looking at like 180 days where she was gone. I mean, that's terrible. That's terrible. And by the way, this doesn't include vacations. Okay, so like when she went away for a week.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when she went away for a week for her birthday, before her birthday party, where Cora Faith Walker died, like that little trip was not on the list. There was another week that she was gone. So her, quote, personal vacations weren't included.
So here again, we have a situation where she's not doing interviews. She doesn't want to say anything about this. The Business Journal report says her office with top officials, including Chief of Staff Jared Boyd and Executive Director of Operations Nancy Cross, also pointed to Jones's continued building of national relationships, Jane, as being beneficial to the city.
It doesn't help at all.
I don't care. I know. I don't either. But but again, there's no repercussions for Tashara unless she loses the mayor's election. I just wonder if that's still a possibility.
I do. I think that look, there has not been a day where Sam Page and Tashara Jones haven't been on the front page. I mean, the crud is piling up.
Yeah, but are people paying attention? You think people in the city are paying attention?
I do. I think they know that this whole Rams money and ARPA money, that this was all a stupid boondoggle. And I don't know. I mean, I'm seeing a lot more dissatisfaction with city voters than I ever have. So I think it's going to be very interesting. I think she should be worried. I mean, I know she's doing videos about winter and standing outside. I guess, I mean, since they must have the same political consultant because, Sam plowing and her standing outside. I mean, I guess they think that's, a campaign strategy. I don't think people are buying it. And people are certainly not buying that, crime is down, all the other things that she's gaslighting people about. So I do think, and I find it very interesting that the press is finally taking the gloves off and holding these people accountable.
What do you make of this? Yeah, this was some of these things in Jacob's reporting. I just don't know if I understand all of it. So they say Jones's office provided, this is the Business Journal report, provided documentation stating that for the last year through mid-October, Jones had spent more than $7,000 in personal funds on travel expenses. She, like mayors before her, has opted to take a $30,000 contingency fund allocated to the mayor's office as income. Apart from that, Jones receives a roughly $133,000 salary. What does that mean, the $30,000 contingency fund?
At $30,000. So contingency fund is for things, probably like travel, like fees to join mayor clubs or whatever, that kind of stuff. I don't know why it's there. I don't like contingency funds unless, look, I understand it more for the prosecutor's office because they have expenses like for witnesses and depositions and things. But for a mayor, so she really makes $160,000.
Jeez.
But I mean, I would like proof that she actually paid for these trips. And here's the other thing that people need to be aware of. All these groups that funded all her travel, I mean,
it's all these progressive, it's all the progressive nonsense groups. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I mean, I don't want special interests buying our politicians.
Yeah. Here's a panel that she was on in Massachusetts. Ready? Dismantling barriers and reducing gender-based inequities. That was one of her trips to the Boston area. I bet that was pretty helpful.
Oh yeah, I mean, and she was also doing the groups with Cori Bush. I mean, she's going to have to defend herself that she was dealing with these fringe groups. And I hope that somebody goes through every single one of these groups and says, okay, these are the people that have paid for her.
Yeah, but Jane, I think you're being a little too rough on her because listen to her today on Twitter where she gave us an update and basically confirmed that there's still snow on the ground.
This is Mayor Jones, and we're on day 3 of this winter weather, and I want to give you another update on how city leaders and staff are mitigating this storm.
I don't think I need to go on. I think that gives you enough of the flavor there.
Well, where I live in the city, there was not a damn road plowed.
Righto.
So, I mean, look, they do the snow routes. They're not doing any of the side streets. So, I mean, whatever. I mean, if she thinks
but look, what she's doing there is something she should be doing on a regular basis. The problem is that video is a distraction because she knows she's getting hammered by the Business Journal. Rainford talked about how one of the important roles of a mayor, you have to have boots on the ground, right? You have to know these neighborhoods. You have to know the constituents. I wonder, is there any member of the Board of Aldermen right now, any member of the Board of Aldermen outraged by that story in the Business Journal outside of Kara Spencer?
I mean, well, they don't say it. I mean, that's for sure. They should be screaming and yelling.
They should be. That's my point. And they're not.
And they're not. And so I do think that is a problem. I mean, I don't know if they're afraid to call her out or what, but this is complete nonsense. Okay. It makes it, people think, okay, it's just another politician getting theirs, and it's graft. And this is graft. I don't care what she says. All the baloney that spews out of her mouth, what she has done has not helped the city of St. Louis. Okay, the 180 days that she's been gone has not helped the city at all.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you could point toward an ROI. Look, one of the meetings was with Southwest Airlines. That might have been a legitimate meeting, right? You got airport issues, but there's no ROI for a lot of these junkets because it was just a progressive nonsense, panel talk, blah, 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 all this other crap. So we'll see. Next up, though, before I let you go on our Wheel of Political Fortune, you saw Joe Holliman's story about Sam Page. So he obviously is facing more and more hurdles. Did you hear Fitch say he even had the guts to show up at Melissa Price's inauguration the other day?
Oh, pretending like he supports her?
Yeah.
He showed up at the inauguration today of the city council.
Right, that's what I heard.
And I'm just like, oh. It's insane. He has burned so many bridges. I don't know what he thinks, how he thinks he's going to be able to, properly. He's lied to people for so long, and he has frustrated these council members for so long. I don't know. I don't know what his end game is. And that what I thought was very interesting about that column was, what is this for? Causing all this chaos? What is it for? I mean, causing all the chaos with the prosecutor thing, burning all those bridges. I mean, burning every bridge in your...
It doesn't make any sense. And one of the things I asked Jeff Rainford, Jane, was in politics, you have to have allies. He has no allies that I can find outside of the people that he's, got his thumb over, that he's hired.
I mean, it's interesting that the council's talking about asking the voters if they want to allow the council to recall or to remove the county executive.
Yes, it is.
I love
No
it.
one is out there defending this guy. No one's out there saying this is a bad idea. What does that tell you? I mean, bad leaders cause very, extreme circumstances. And that's where we're at.
Yeah,
and I think
where we're at. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we'll
need
talk
new
about
leaders.
we'll talk about all this on the roundtable on Friday.
All right, guys.
Have a great
Have
week.
a great day. Be safe.
I've gotten to know arguably Mayor Slay a lot better personally in the aftermath of him being mayor than I have before he was mayor. I did have it was interesting because Rainford's a pretty smart guy. He's shrewd. I mean, he basically was running the city, but Francis was I have more appreciation for him as a mayor than I did when he was a mayor because he was attentive to the operation of the city of St. Louis. And I don't remember this much ridiculous. There was no progressive politics, all that other nonsense out there. But this really does go to the issue of leadership. And there have to be better people out there to guide us through tough times. We have terrible leadership in the city of St. Louis and the county of St. Louis. Now, I think Steve Ellman's kind of got it going on in St. Charles County, but he's more aware than anyone about the ineptitude of these two people in the St. Louis region and why more people. Look, in my opinion, look at the Gardner audit. And we'll talk with Scott Fitzpatrick about this tomorrow. All these people that we're talking about, they not only wouldn't criticize Kim Gardner when some of this stuff was going on, but they defended her.
Yep.
And they cried racism. And you had 60 Minutes come in town and Jeff Pegues from CBS News. So that's outrageous. The people of the city, hopefully black and white, have a recognition that, don't you remember Kim's little rah-rah press conference when she had all those people surrounding her that supported her, shouting at the media, telling the media that they were just that this was, a black woman that's done wrong. It's all about racism, of course. White people not appreciating what she did when she was going to freaking nursing school when she's supposed to be prosecuting criminals.
I think that she will not win re-election. That is my official prediction.
I hope you're right about that.
I'm not sure that the next person, if Kara Spencer gets it, is going to be. But it's going to be. It's got to be a little better.
I don't know Kara very
I don't
well,
know if that's the
Here's what I'd say
solution.
about Kara Spencer. From what little I know, she's got a hip haircut, right?
Yeah.
She's smart. And she cares deeply about the city, but she's a policy wonk. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with a policy wonk if you're a policy wonk, but she is not someone that I see as the leader of the city of St. Louis. Now, having said that, I don't know. It certainly would be better than what we have right now.
Correct. I think that's what people are thinking. And in my neighborhood, obviously it was never full of Tashara Jones signs.
Holly Hills area, right?
But there are a couple for Kara. And who knows? I just think that maybe somebody else will win.
This thing is going to happen essentially in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Look, the mayor's election is in February, and then there's a runoff in March. But it is just around the corner. Now, nobody's really talking about it.
Nope.
Nobody's talking about the race. There's no money being spent or anything like that right now.
You know who could win it is Steve Butts, but he doesn't want to run.
Well,
and I understand why.
Yeah,
it's
he
a
deferred
pain.
to Kara. He said
did.
basically if Kara's getting in, I'm not going to get in. But, Steve's a white South City guy. Could he win
But he
in the city of
cares,
St.
and
Louis?
he's a rational person. I mean, good grief, the man cares and could at least lead.
Sue, come on. If there's anything we've learned, especially in the last 24 hours, we're not looking for competency or anything along those lines.
Yeah,
No,
that's right.
that's not what we want here in St. Louis. Audio cut of the day is coming up.
Be careful. careful on those side streets. We still have some ramps that are in poor condition. And we've got an accident eastbound 6440 on the on-ramp from Research Park Circle, and police have the right lane blocked out there. There was an accident westbound 70 on the on-ramp from 141, and an accident westbound 6440 at Lindbergh. Now, that one was in the left lane. They've been working to get that off to the shoulder, and I believe that they have. If you are traveling in that area, though, yeah, they got it cleared. But we still have some volume out there in that area. Westbound 70, not bad out of downtown. Some volume out at 370. And we've got some volume. If you take Page or Olive between, well, even approaching 170 through Lindbergh, there are definitely some slow pockets through there tonight. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, now that the calendar has turned and we're sitting here in January with snow all around us and really, really cold temperatures, let's talk about going to a beautiful vacation spot in April and May, and that's the Greek Islands. We're going to Greece. We're taking 97.1 FM Talk listeners. I would love for you to be with me in Greece. We leave on April 27th, and my tour guide, Mike Kenny. Mike's a friend. I've known him since we traveled in 2011 when we went to Italy, and it was fantastic. And then Mike was working with a different company at that time. And for many years, we talked about doing something because he broke out on his own. He goes, hey, you want to do a trip? Want to do a trip? I'm like, maybe. But then I wanted to do a trip. We went to Barcelona and Madrid. It was fantastic. We took 24 off, but we're going to take a great trip in 2025 in a couple of months. It's going to be here before we know it, and that's to Greece. We leave from St. Louis on the 27th. We come back on May 7th. This trip is going to be amazing. It's on a very, very small cruise ship, 197 passengers total, very intimate. I would love for you to get on board with us. We only have 2 cabins left. I had 1 cabin. Mike was able to get another one, but we still have a little space, limited space right now. If you go to the top of my Twitter page, at Mark Reardon KFTK, all the details are there, or go to defineddestinations.com and hit the tab for the Ancient Greece tour on a small ship cruise. It's going to be amazing. Come with us to Greece in 2025.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Wednesday, we're live at the state capitol. We'll talk to incoming Governor Mike Kehoe at 7:20.
The Mark Cox Morning Show, weekdays from 5 to 9, right here on 97.1 FM Talk.
Somehow, some way, Sue, this was missing from the Mark Reardon Show bumper rotation. Can't honestly believe that, but we had to put a little BTO in here this afternoon. Audio cut of the day is coming up. We talked extensively about the Kim Gardner audit, Scott Fitzpatrick, the state auditor who did that particular audit, will join us at 3:25 tomorrow afternoon. Let's see if there's anything else that I wanted to cover here before I get to audio cut of the day. I got a couple of different things, and let me just get right into it because one of these might take just a little bit longer.
Stand by. Playback ready. Now, the audio cut of the day.
So I don't often like to share audio where I don't know exactly what the source is.
Right.
Okay? And we do our best to vet things, but this was something, I love this site, End Wokeness on Twitter, and Libs of TikTok is great as well. And they expose a lot of these things that are happening. They're really good at pulling audio from local school boards and city council meetings and stuff like that. But there are a lot of people on the formerly Twitter that retweeted this as I did today because it really says a lot for where the country is right now. And I think this is before, if you listen to this data, city council somewhere.
You made this statement, of course, you've heard it so many times tonight. People violate the laws anytime they want. And you said it so cavalierly, so arrogantly. Of course, Mr. Harvey voted with you. Can you look at me, please? You disrespected the other voters. Thank you. A little respect. You know, I agree. You don't get punished anymore. That's where the country is because of the losing liberal left policies. One state steal less than $900. It's okay. I go to Home Depot the other day to buy a tool. It's locked up. I asked the guy why. Oh, they come in shopping carts. They load it up, and we can't stop them. We're not allowed to do anything. They're the garbage policies you people endorse, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, but you know what? If you're a conservative Christian grandmother and pray outside an abortion clinic, you get 10 years under the FACE Act.
That's a fact.
Yeah, so he's speaking, I think, for a lot of people
Wow.
here on the crime issue in particular, how anyone thought in California, and Gavin Newsom was amongst them, and Kamala Harris was, that allowing people to steal up to $1,000 worth of stuff, $900, that was a good idea, right?
Oh,
Well, they repealed that, of course, because it was nonsense.
So let me tell you something. Thank God on January 20th, there's a new sheriff in town. I know this pains you losing liberals, but you're going to have to get some TDS training. It's called Trump derangement syndrome. Because there's not going to be any more DEI. There's no more men and women's sports. There's no more men and women's locker rooms. Can you imagine your junior high daughter, self-conscious about her body, and she has to change or take a shower next to a naked man? These are the sick policies you people endorse. So that's gone. There's not going to be any more rapists and murderers coming over the border. No more illegal aliens on the voter rolls. That was a great one, wasn't it? You're fighting to put them back on? That's just great. But you know what? I know it pains you, but thank God Donald J. Trump is going to reverse it all.
I think it says a lot. That guy was great. I got to find out who he was. I'm trying to track him down, but he spoke volumes. That's why he was audio cut of the day. Sue, have a great night.
You too.
We're back tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Scott Fitzpatrick on the Kim Gardner audit at 3:25.
Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast at 971talk.com.
We've got MoDOT reporting a stall westbound 44 on the ramp to Elm. So watch out for that if you're traveling in that area. Now, they've cleared the accident westbound 6440 at Lindbergh. Traffic is looking much better through there. And we do have westbound 70 in good shape out of downtown. Little slow past 370. 6440, there's moderate volume from Lindbergh out through, looks like 270. And then it opens up. And 270 southbound, it's still kind of iffy. It's a slow go, especially between 6440 and Page. It's been a rough area through there today. We've got Olive pretty slow, just east of 170 as drivers use that. And westbound Manchester has not been a lot of fun. We still have some volume out there, especially in the Ellisville area on Manchester. And westbound 44, a little slow at 270. 55 looks great. And if you're headed into Illinois, we had a little volume on the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge, but fine on the Poplar Street Bridge. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Let's just face it, right? Your home should work for you, not against you. Hi, it's Kim, and if you've been dreaming of a new kitchen, bathroom, or a finished basement, now's the time to call Lakeside Renovation and Design. They're St. Louis's trusted experts in turning houses into dream homes. Just imagine this, a spa-like bathroom, maybe a chef-inspired kitchen, or how about a cozy basement perfect for some movie nights? Their team handles everything from design to installation, so you can just sit back and enjoy the process. Visit lakesidearty.com today to start your dream renovation.